Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Puff Puff Ultima podcast. I am Joe.
I'm Jacob.
I'm Caleb.
And I'm also Caleb.
And today, ladies and gentlemen, as a bonus episode for both Ultima Final Fantasy and the Puff Puff Hour, we are reviewing the long-awaited classic, the long-awaited review of the classic Chrono Trigger.
Yeah, we've gone from it's part of the show to it's not part of the show to it's secretly part of the show that like 10 people know about to now it's a reality.
That's right. So as you were saying when we came in here, it's been a very long time since we sat down with Caleb Craig.
Yeah, it has been a minute.
And we're here to ambush you and make your life a living hell. So I hope you're ready for that. No, I'm kidding.
Hope you remember the good old days, buddy.
They're long behind us.
But not for today.
Or coming back around.
No. So for Ultima Final Fantasy, Caleb and I have been teasing over the last few months that we would, in fact, review Chrono Trigger.
Trigger in the fan base.
Yeah, we were saying things like doing things in chronological order, and it really triggers me, and shit like that. We were saying shit like that, and
We're dreaming that this episode comes soon.
Yeah, it's
gonna be
radical
radical,
dream.
bro.
I cannot believe that some people did not take the hit.
Oh,
That's what's wild.
It took me a second to
Very low
realize
subtlety. And
why you were talking that way on that book review. I was like, what the fuck are you saying? And I was like, oh yeah, we were gonna tease Chrono.
Yeah.
My timelines are all fucked up. I couldn't remember.
yeah, much like Chrono.
So, anyway, yeah, I've been looking forward to this game for a long time. I used to think that it was a Final Fantasy development thing, and then when I found out that was old information, that that for a couple years now it had been debunked. It wasn't debunked when we started our podcast. That was like what people thought the development of the game was.
Right. No, I had my own logical conclusion that I thought everyone else had gotten wrong at the time, and I can explain that later, but go ahead.
Okay. So, yeah, at the time, it was seen as, now I can't remember, like the steps that got me there, but at the time, I believe it was like that it was going to be Final Fantasy IV, and then that turned into like both Secret of Mana and Chrono Trigger as the project, but that's not how the development went down. So because of that, it was like, well, we don't technically have to review this on Ultima Final Fantasy. And then, of course, we still wanted to play the game, so we just said we weren't gonna play it. Now we're here, 12 months later after our podcast ended. So
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm glad we played it because it's supposed to be one of the greats of all time, you know, and it's kind of like a cool collaboration between Square and Enix, which then, of course, became one.
Yep.
Due to the Gooch's failure. But although it was going to become one either way, they thought it was going to be the other way around.
yeah,
Everyone did. Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, so it's kind of like a perfect way to sunset yet again Ultima and also
That other podcast that no one remembers. Yep.
you
Hey,
guys' show.
there's a chunk of people that listen to the Puff Puff Hour and never listen to UFF. So for those people, they'll want to hear.
The purest JRPG people then be like, oh, that Final Fantasy ruined everything. Dragon Quest is where it's at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. Dragon Quest is superior.
Is it superior? Craig, please
God.
tell us why Dragon Quest is superior to Final Fantasy.
It just is. There's like better consistency of quality across all the games.
Consistency. So, okay. All right. So are you saying that Dragon Quest is the Megadeth and Final Fantasy is Metallica?
I don't know.
Where Megadeth
I don't.
barely changed their sound?
But I can make a different comparison because I'd say that Dragon Quest could be more than Metallica because it's more consistent and there is not nearly as much shit as bad as Megadeth.
Okay.
And some of the spin-offs of FF belong in a dumpster fire and you said it ablaze.
But Megadeth does have more good songs.
because they have more songs.
Yeah. So,
In that way, I guess Megadeth would be more like Final Fantasy,
Yeah.
except for like the sales. And
as
is there a Dragon Quest game that it's as good as FF6 or FF7 in your guys' opinion?
it's close. 11 is close.
Okay.
But I'd still go
11 is really good.
5 and 8, of course.
Yeah, 5 and 8.
So
are
they're
really
like
good.
the Rust in Peace. And then we're talking about FF7 and FF6. You know, those are like the Master of Puppets. You know,
Yeah,
Ride
right.
the Lightning, the Injustice for All, Black Album.
5 is also
But
really
don't not Black Album. You're just trying to slide that last one in
Black
right
Album.
there. No, we're
I,
not.
I think FF10
No.
is the Black Album, right?
I don't know. I think I like FF10 more.
Okay. How many? I wonder how many people we've lost at this point.
Yeah, this whole show has basically been for you, me, Jake, and Dr. Roxo. Like the core audience.
People who listen to old thrash metal and
Yeah.
are playing JRPGs.
Yeah, and I guess you could add like
Dream
Brulo
Theater in there
and-
just randomly. Yeah.
Brulo and fucking Bandrum. It's like 6 people is what the show is made for.
That's right. That's right. So for those 6 people, we thank you for listening. Chrono Trigger. Wow. How do you review a game that is in such high esteem already? Like, can you say, wow, the soundtrack is shit? Can you say that the battle system sucks? Can you say anything negative about this sacred cow? We will find out.
Yeah, if it's anything like our Xenogears review, the answer is yes. But who knows?
So Chrono Trigger is the result of a collaboration between Hironobu Sakaguchi, who created the Final Fantasy series, Yuji Horii, who is the game designer and creator for Dragon Quest, and Akira Toriyama, who's made some stuff. I can't really remember.
He's made some stuff.
Who's Akira Toriyama?
He's an icon of the Mexican country.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, God, that is
Dude,
horrible.
they had government-funded watch parties of Dragon Ball
is
Z when
true.
he died.
That is
You cannot
true.
tell me he is not a Mexican icon.
Is he more of a Mexican icon than he is a Japanese icon?
It's
Almost-
Close. It's really
Yeah.
close, honestly.
And it's a lot in black culture, too. I'm just going to put that out there, too. For some reason, they love themselves some Dragon Ball, too. It's weird. I don't get it, but...
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
Dragon Ball Z is amazing.
Yeah, Akira Toriyama made Dragon Ball, which I have now watched the entirety of Dragon Ball, the
nice.
first show, and then like 3 seasons of Dragon Ball Z in Espanol.
Still haven't watched it. Don't
And
take
it's-
much
and it's,
interest.
in its purest form in Spanish.
I will say, like, the last 2 seasons of Dragon Ball were like amazing.
Yeah.
That
They're
show,
really
that show was a build up, and then the last
there's
2
a lot
seasons
of-
got
yeah,
so
like-
good.
It's a lot of fluff, and then there's like, you know what? Let's put a plot in there.
Yeah, that's pretty much the show. Yeah, 500 episodes, and then the last like 70 are like where it's at. You
Yeah.
know,
See, this is why I can't watch shows like that and don't pique my interest when people mention the word like fluff. And then I've heard it with all these other things too. I cannot just watch something as a slow burn for like 10s and 20 and 30 of hours of nothing happening like Bleach and stuff like that. I'm like, you're not even respecting my time. So that's why I've never touched it before.
I mean, it's just like a fun adventure comedy thing, and then
Okay.
it's like, oh, let's decide to actually make it something.
yeah. I think
Write it as it goes along.
it gets
mid-season,
good when they
like-
kill someone, like a main character who, of course, no one ever dies in Dragon Ball. I found that out after that, but they kill someone, and then
They
they're
do
like,
die.
oh
They just
wow,
don't stay dead
there's death in this universe. You know.
Aren't they only supposed
unless
to,
you're evil. And
aren't they
then-
only supposed to
then you
come
stay
back
dead.
one time, or can you come back as many?
So you can come back.
Goku
once.
has come back a lot.
Oh,
You're allowed to come back once with the Dragon Balls, but the Namekian Dragon Balls do not have that limitation. So they just get around it.
So
Wait,
the
there's
ball
also-
is a metaphor for like Jesus and resurrection.
Yeah, when I think balls, I think Jesus.
Well, he literally said like you have to have the Dragon Balls in order to be resurrected. So I'm just
Well, you can make any wish.
Yeah, just
gotta rub the crystal ball. Got it.
there's just nothing more final than death. So that's what you wish to reverse.
Well, Goku gets back to Earth from heaven through like a very, very long road that
The snake way
took forever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. That wasn't through the Dragon Balls, was it? It was just
No, that was
Just willpower.
well, they did revive him, but I don't know why he chose to go back that way. It was weird.
He just wanted to walk.
Yeah, because I don't know how that was supposed to work. Because if you revive somebody, they could just appear there. But I don't know what they.
I saw a clip recently where Sean Bean, I guess, got sick of helicopter rides when they were filming Lord of the Rings.
yeah, and
So he would just fucking hike, yeah. Peter Jackson's like, yeah, we'd be flying overhead, and it's like, oh, hey, there's Sean Bean just climbing the mountain. It's like, I preferred it that way. I got sick of those rides. So maybe he's just the Sean Bean. He's just like sick of fucking just teleporting back. I'm going to walk.
Full nomad.
Yeah.
So they spent a long time. I guess they got together on like some sort of business trip where they were all
Yeah.
part of a thing, and then they decided to just try to make a project together. And they spent a lot of time just talking it out, just brainstorming for like a year or so, which at the time I believe was kind of like a long development time for a game. Games only used to take like 1 or 2 years to make. And the teams were, of course, much smaller than they are today. But this project did end up blowing up and becoming like a 70-person team of people that made the final product. And it was like Square's biggest, most expensive production at that point.
Yeah.
So I think initially Hironobu Sakaguchi was like hands off and someone else was directing the game, and then they ran into issues, and then they decided to scrap everything they had done, take the same ideas, remake the game with Hironobu Sakaguchi now taking a much more hands-on role. And then there were like 3 directors, and I can probably pull up their names here. There were 3 directors.
Masato Kato is originally who was
Yeah.
like kind of like the main developer at the time, and it seemed like there was too many cooks in the kitchen because you got this like big ego guy, this big ego guy trying to throw everything in. So I believe there was Sakaguchi bringing in a lot of ideas and Hori doing a lot of ideas, and it just blew up, and everybody's like, no, we need to scrap this. Like, build it back from basics, take this, and this, because apparently there was like a bit of a hubbub of in the dialogue, which Masato Kato and Hori was kind of working on together and saying, okay, is the main character, is Chrono supposed to be silent, or should he be speaking to the audience? In Hori, and when you play Dragon Quest games, they're supposed to be the silent protagonist. He likes that because he wants people to be in the shoes of the main character. And if they talk to you or break the fourth wall, then you no longer envision yourself as that main character, is how he kind of like approaches things with the Dragon Quest games.
Well, the Final Fantasy games are totally the opposite. Like this,
Yeah.
the Square games
Yeah.
are like
So
you're playing a character outside of the first one, obviously. But so the directors credited were Takashi Tokita, Yoshinori Kitase, and Akihiko Matsui. And then a producer name was Kazuhiko Aoki, and then the designer was Hironobu Sakaguchi. And then the main artist, of course, Akira Toriyama,
Yeah.
which is very clear when you're playing the game. If you've
Sprites,
watched,
yeah.
if you watched a second of Dragon Quest, it looks like an anime game brought to life. I think we've said something similar for FF7, but this is like the 2-dimensional version of that. Like this looks like anime. Basically, this is this game.
Well, the Steam and the DS versions, I believe, also have those like animated cutscenes where it is like it just
Starting
short
with PS1.
animated
Yeah.
piece things, and
And it just looks like a scene from Dragon Ball, basically.
basically, yeah.
So, I believe there were other issues with development, like the. Sorry, I didn't do a write up on this one, so I'm just like pulling from what I read before. The whole project, I believe, like was almost destroyed because they had some files on their computer that had changed their dates in what I don't know how this works, but they said that the files had changed into 1960 or something, like the dates on the metadata of the files, and then they said that they could not open them. And so they were like, oh, they must have, the joke is that they must have known, the computers must have known that they were making a time travel game and decided to time travel themselves.
To Y2K?
And then like ruin, or almost ruin the project
All the
that
files
way.
become unreadable. Yeah.
I know there was something about like the playtesters wanting to get all those different endings again because this whole thing was about time travel, and it was like and that was a huge part of the issues with development. Like it was a really complex idea for the system, especially that they were trying to do it on, where basically what the player did was going to change the outcome of the game and the order in which the game is in, or the order of the story and all that. And there's all these nonlinear paths, and there's these treasure chests you can open up in this timeline, and you can
Clever
they'll
trick.
be opened, and then they'll already be open in another timeline. All these really complicated ideas, and all these really complicated graphical ideas as well, because all these different worlds, neither all the like wholly unique art for all of these things in the maps and everything like that. So it was a big, it was a big project. It was a lot, and the playtesters, I believe, they wanted to be able to like, oh, I wish I could have had the opportunity to go back and see what would have changed if I had made different choices in the game. And so they decided for, I believe the first time ever, this is what I heard. I don't know if this is necessarily true, but I believe the first time ever, New Game Plus.
Yes, the first time it was ever called that. Other games before had that kind of feature, but no one had ever called it New Game Plus. That's where the term came from. Was this game.
So that's pretty cool. I didn't know that. I just found that out.
Yeah. And also during the playtesting, they were saying that there was balance issues on the game stuff. So apparently they kind of like tweaked that to make it a little bit easier. In my opinion, for most JRPGs that I played, this is one of the easiest ones because it's a very rudimentary, easy system. So maybe it might have been more difficult earlier, but they got that balanced out towards the end. And they decided to, instead of doing CD-based run, because that's kind of like one of the early development, they're like, okay, then we go CD-based or
let's make this game
cartridge-based. They decided, the load times for CD was going to be a problem. Let's just go with the basic cartridge so that instead of it being like Final Fantasy where you go to a different and separate screen, we want immediate battle, immediately like clicking back up there right off the same screen that you have.
I don't know if it was the load times. What I had heard was that Nintendo was going to do a CD attachment.
Right. Yeah,
and they started
Sony
development thinking that was going to happen, and then they didn't. And they were like, oh, well, we're still going to make this game.
Yeah. Could you imagine the legendary status of that? Because it might have actually been the Sony proprietary like CD add-on, and there wouldn't have been PlayStation. And that one CD add-on would have been Chrono Trigger.
Be interesting.
Instead of ever being PlayStation.
Yeah, that's an interesting thought
wild.
experiment. The music was by, Matsuda? What's his full
Mitsuda,
name?
yeah. I never pronounced the first name right, so I'm not going to attempt.
Yasunori Mitsuda, who was a disgruntled sound designer.
Yes.
And told Hironobu Sakaguchi that if he didn't like pay him more, he was going to quit. And then Sakaguchi said, well, maybe I'll pay you more if you do the soundtrack for Chrono Trigger. And so Mitsuda, who I think wanted to do music the whole time, had been working on like musical tracks for a long time, just as demos, and then decided to take a lot of those ideas, at least the ones that would fit with the game, and compose them for Chrono Trigger. And then also started adding his new tracks, and apparently it stressed him out a whole bunch, and he had stomach ulcers. And then they had veteran composer Nobuo Uematsu come in, and another composer for a few things, right?
Just like one track that got arranged.
Noriku Matsueda.
Yeah, for like one track.
Who also came in, and they basically they rounded out the score. I think Nobuo Uematsu ended up doing like something like 10
Yeah, 9
pieces
to
of
10.
music for it. So it's largely Mitsuda. However, I think the boss battle theme 1 or whatever
Yeah.
from
The main
Uematsu. Oh, it's great. it's a great Uematsu high point. But anyway, the game, despite all its technical limitations and everything like that, and all its it blowing up in development to such a huge size, the game came out and was a massive success. It was the second biggest selling game in Japan of that year. I believe it was 1995. Just behind one of the Dragon Quest games. I don't know which one it was, but
Probably was 5 at the time.
it might have been 5.
Yeah, because some of the story beats of when Hori was given a main outline to the story, he wanted to do stuff with time travel, and it seems like all of his ideas went into Chrono Trigger's story because 6 does time travel as well, and it's crap. So I think he put all of his good ideas into Trigger and then wrote 6 just be like, oh, let me do the same thing, but just not as cool. So it had to have been 5 at the time, yeah.
I'll just have to take your word for that.
Yeah.
I don't know when I'll ever play Dragon Quest or if I'll ever play Dragon Quest.
If you like traditional JRPGs, I think.
I mean, I love JRPGs, but I've
I'll go.
had 10 years of JRPGs.
I would say
Oh,
at
yeah,
least
so you
play
could get
5, 8,
burn it.
and 11.
Yeah,
I still feel like I need a 10-year break.
I get it, yeah.
And I'm not quite done either. I don't want to get too cross here, but
But we can dream.
But we can dream radically. So yeah, the game was again ported I remember this game being so hard.
This is part
to
of
get
the
a hold
argument, too.
So a lot, like when we started UFF, even it was that recent. I mean, that long ago, a decade ago. Hold on, let me.
But still recent in our minds.
Hold on 1 second, Caleb. You got your gun somewhere? I need to kill myself.
Easily accessible.
Just for the kids.
Yeah. For the kiddies.
So I guess before I kill myself, I should probably explain that while we were growing up and while we were teenagers, Chrono Trigger in the box, in the SNES box, and Chrono Trigger used. In the box, it was like $1,000. If you wanted to buy Chrono Trigger in 2010 on eBay, in the box, it was $1,000. I remember seeing that. You can even find an old Game Informer magazine where they put in like rarest, like hardest to find or most expensive games ever or whatever. There's some sort of list in one of those magazines, and Chrono
top
Trigger
10.
was in there.
Yeah.
'Cause
Earthbound #1 with the big box.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember being like, how can I ever play this game? I'll never be able to play this game. Why don't they port it? For God's sake, Square. Why there isn't a Xenogears port for the PS5?
Oh, yeah.
That's
I know.
insane.
They'll have
So-
action figures on their website, but no other things. It'll be like, yeah, they'll have one of the Xeno things with Fei Long and all that on there, but there's no port or whatever the hell's going on with that.
I don't know what the
it's-
fuck
yeah.
they do and like I remember with Final Fantasy 7 starts with a C. Crisis Core.
Yeah.
What the fuck is wrong with my brain today?
Well,
oh my
we finally
God.
got to the bottom of that on why they took so long with that.
What was it? Do you know?
It was
Do you
the
know?
copyright issues with the songs.
Oh no, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That is what I was going to say, but
Yeah.
I was like, oh, was there something else? Because I've been wrong before. Copyright issues with the song. It's like, what kind of fucking this is when you write a contract for music in a movie, you go, we can use this song for
Later
time
on.
and all
Yeah.
eternity when it comes to this material.
Right.
And here's your money. And then the artist signs it. And then when it comes to the movie, when it comes to exploiting the soundtrack for the sake of the movie, you can use that song in anything. Yeah. And any other deal is no deal. There is no other deal. So the fact that they're like, well, only if it's released on what kind of things did they have in their contract where it was like, if you have a re-release, you have to pay me $9 billion It's going to be
Yeah.
some impossible like fee. It's like, don't do that. Don't have a contract where you can't use the music, so you can't release something again.
I mean, wasn't like Gact like in the fucking game?
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
It's so stupid.
Yeah,
you know?
so-
Yeah, well, that's that whole FF7 compilation problem. But
So maybe that was special with him, but the Xenogears thing makes no sense to me. It's like you have these big classic games that sold 1 million copies back in the day. You can sell another 500,000 right now with very little development cost, and they just don't.
What
They
if
just
they-
don't want money.
What if they just can't fix the way the battles start? Like, there's no fixing it.
I
So
don't.
you're
the
trying to
frame
play-
rate is still tanking on a PS5 Pro. And
Yeah,
when you
like-
go to jump,
You fucking go to jump, but your battle initiated, but it hasn't initiated yet, so you just fall off the cliff. Maybe they just can't
like
fix
3
it.
frames
I mean,
per
didn't
second.
they remake Final Fantasy VIII to do
Yeah.
that Steam port? They could
Yeah,
just do that again.
That's what we heard, was that Final Fantasy VIII was remade from the ground up in order to match
they lost
the
the
old
source
game.
code. Kingdom Hearts 1, same thing.
But it's crazy. You should be able to just,
Port it to everything
emulate
all the
it.
time now. Yeah, but
like emulate it and then have some hacker go in and mess with the battle speed. Like that's silly to me. But this was finally put onto the Nintendo DS, which is a version that a lot of people like.
PS1. Be like, this is part of the.
Oh yeah, PS1 port. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
a bad one. Talk about that one.
Well, it got ported along with FF4 as Final Fantasy Chronicles.
Yeah,
And this is where half
that
of
was the
that's-
only one we could actually get back in the day,
Yep.
and it was still kind of expensive if I remember right, that version, because Final Fantasy
I didn't-
Anthology was cheap. I remember that was like $25,
Right.
and then which didn't feel cheap when $25 equals what
It's like
$40
$60
is now.
now. Yeah, inflation's
it's
a
like
bitch.
40. It's not that high, but I just remember when you're 18 and you have no money.
Oh, yeah. A
And you're
$30,
like-
$40 new
Yeah.
release game is
That-
a death sentence.
25 felt like, ooh, that's a lot, you
Yeah.
know? So like, and I remember the FF4 one was a little bit more, so it felt really expensive. Maybe it wasn't that much. But everybody hates that port.
There's a good reason for it. 4 runs like shit. Trigger runs like shit. So, in between the battles, if anybody's played all the other versions besides this, like, I don't know, anybody else ever played PS1 version along with anything else?
What,
like the DS, Steam,
Chrono
stuff
Trigger?
like that? Yeah. No?
The only ones I've played is the DS one and then the one on Steam, which is a port of
Okay.
the
Well, I
DS
grew
one.
up with the one on PS1, and the time between initiating the battle, which is supposed to be seamless, takes like 5 to 6 seconds every battle, and it takes upwards of 10 to 15 seconds every time you go to open the menu.
Damn.
It is horrible.
I feel like it's already kind of not seamless, but that's really not seamless.
You played the 4
No, I played
on
on,
that
DS.
version, right?
Oh, I played I played FF4 on that collection.
Yeah.
It was awful.
Yeah, it's absolutely awful.
Your fucking items don't stack. Like you got to go in and like manually stack your potions, otherwise you'll be like, oh, your inventory's full, and I'm like, no, it's not.
Because they're individual.
Yeah,
inside
because
of
they
the thing.
drop with it, whatever stack they came in.
There's a good exploit with that though, because how bad that's fucking coded. You could duplicate any weapon.
Okay,
Inside of the coding, yeah. And you're like, oh, Kane, you like your lance, right? Boom, double lance, triple lance, 4 lance. The next thing you know, you have 99 of everything. But, oh, no, this is part of my argument on why I never
all
thought
99
that
characters.
Chrono Trigger was ever supposed to be a Final Fantasy. So this stemmed from, oh, look, Chrono Trigger is in this collection called Final Fantasy Chronicles.
Yeah.
So, therefore, it's an FF project. No, it fucking
Well, there's
isn't.
to make it even more complex. Secret of Mana
Yeah.
that one did start
Yes.
as FF4.
Yep.
And its code name, which they eventually made the real name of this game, was Chrono Trigger.
Yep.
So in a way, the title comes from a Final Fantasy development, and it made its way into this game.
So
But
by name only?
by
Yeah.
name only, and
Like,
by
no blood lineage, just by last name.
and
Gotcha.
by like a good amount of the staff that worked on this game worked on FF4 and FF5.
Right.
So there is some there's some bloodline mixing, but
Right.
they're not sharing a last name.
But here's the argument there. Be like, you would not get, but like the Dream Team was basically made up of one random guy, 2 FF, 2 Dragon Quest, basically, for the main 5 people for this. You would not approach Kira Toriyama and Yuji Horii for an FF project. They are
Right.
your rival. It is Dragon Quest. You don't go talking to the guy, be like, hey, you do Dragon Quest. Come over and make a Final Fantasy game for us. That would be a non-negotiable starter,
I
like
think
right
it's-
there.
Well, I don't know.
That's what I've always been saying with stuff.
I
So-
don't know because it's not like it's sports, like
Right.
it's not the sports. Like maybe if they're releasing like a similar game at the same time, then maybe the companies will be at each other, like trying to outbid each other's like marketing and all that.
Right.
But the creators of it, I kind of have my doubts. I don't know. I don't know if it really works that way. We brought up Megadeth and Metallica earlier, but the only reason there's a rivalry there is because one of them was kicked out of the other band.
right.
So now there's a rivalry. I don't necessarily think that the guys
It's a friendly competition.
that the
yeah.
guys in Slayer are having a competition with the guys in Metallica.
Right. Right. But you wouldn't do that. It's for the spirit of the competition. You still wouldn't like do that and approach. It's kind of like know your lane on stuff because you
Yeah,
wouldn't.
unless they quit their company, they wouldn't be hired to do it FF.
Yeah, it would only work
Yeah.
if like the Gooch, when fired, started Dragon Quest. Instead, he started a bunch of games nobody's played.
That's not true. Isn't that Blue Dragon game? That was pretty popular when it came out.
I've never played any of those other stuff.
It hasn't.
Which
stood
is
the test
pretty
of time,
funny because
but-
the Blue Dragon game is Akira Toriyama's artwork.
yeah, no, yeah, that's it. Yeah.
So
So now it's funny. They did eventually like make like it's 3D, right? The Chrono Trigger on the DS. Is it 3D or is it like drawn?
No,
It has like a weird look to it. I'm trying to like describe it, but is it still top down?
It's still, it's still
Yeah.
the same.
Okay, so it's not
just-
part of like the FF4, FF3 like 3D remakes.
No,
no. They're still
But it was around that
work in
time.
2D. Yeah, but
and
they
it had
didn't.
voice acting or no?
no.
No voice acting. Oh, thank
It
God.
just,
the
it just
PS
had those like AMVs like as
Yeah.
cutscenes,
Which
Yeah,
they
it's
like
which
the
they also have
MV.
the Steam version.
Yeah,
So that came out. That was a huge success, and within like 2 years, super expensive used game. No one
Yeah.
wants to get rid of. Once again, putting Chrono Trigger.
that just kind of happens
Oh.
with DS things in general. Like especially if they're a quality DS game, like you could find dog shit DS games for like $1.
Yeah, that's true.
Like you can find
You
the
guys should have
Madden
invested in
games
Dragon
for,
Quest
like,
early, like around the podcast, because
Yeah.
those Dragon
But
Quest games now are a
If it's
pretty
literally
penny.
any RPG or just anything that's like a Nintendo game, you're not going to find it for anything less than like
80.
50, $60.
That it's crazy to me that Chrono Trigger was a rare game, and then it became a rare game again.
Second time.
Nintendo's got a stranglehold on it, man. I'm
That was
telling you.
nuts, and especially now that version is not the version that you can get anywhere else. And people like, I don't know why I haven't played it. I like the version I played, but that version apparently is considered like the best version for a lot of people. I don't think it's for everyone. I've heard some people being like, I actually like the SNES version the most. I think that was in our Discord somewhere, but that version is now like highly sought after and not available on anything but the DS original cartridge.
I think
which
it's
is
gotten
funny.
fixed, but it's because of how bad initially the Steam launch was for Trigger.
Yeah, which is
But
crazy.
it's been fixed now, and everything about it I view is just as good as DS.
Yeah, and you can.
So
I
Did find
I had
a-
zero problems with
a
it.
glitch
Okay, talk
in
about
the
a
Steam one.
Oh yeah, what?
What were you
So-
trying to do?
Yeah,
So you know that one part in the where you're like in the future and you're trying to like move or like get the statues all together or whatever.
machine crane?
There's like those guardian dudes that will like push you back away from like from getting
switch?
the switch or whatever. So I had the guardian push me onto one of the like what would you call it, like one of the obstacles like on the side, and it stopped me from being able to move anywhere. So I just couldn't move. I could like turn the character around in any direction, but he could not move. And so I had to fucking turn off the game and restart and hoped that I had saved somewhat recently. But it didn't matter because the Steam version has like a auto save kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which was amazing and saved me from
Death.
Rage.
destroying things.
I wish it would have auto saved you after you got pushed.
I would have
Like ping you in
been
the corner.
very unhappy.
I'm not coming.
I'm going to add, I actually had like 3 times that the game crashed on me.
It didn't crash on me, but I did experience that glitch, and I was like, what the fuck? I can't play a single fucking game without something happening to me.
Yeah, you quit video games after Nude Clan, or you're just like, I can't do this anymore.
There's not a single one I have been absolutely fucked by at least once.
You were mentioning volume problems too?
Huh?
You were mentioning volume
Oh yeah,
problems too?
volume problems. The fucking Steam one, I don't know, is just loud as absolute shit. And even if you fucking turn down the Steam volume or whatever volume for like the game itself, like through your computer and not the game itself, because it doesn't have fucking volume control for some reason, like it's still loud as shit even on 1. All the way down to 1. It's still loud as fuck. You cannot hear anything else. So it's just, I had to turn it off for like most of the fucking game.
So Caleb Craig's not reviewing the soundtrack.
Probably not. Yeah.
So sad.
It is good from parts that I heard, but
Before you went deaf.
So that's what I got on the development. Do you have anything else on there? that you
Not now
remember?
I can think of.
Okay, well let's get into the story, guys. So, Chrono Trigger is about a guy named Chrono without an H in a game.
Cartridge.
Chrono
Game, 6
with
letters.
an H.
that bugged the shit out of me, by the way.
Fuck me too.
More than a time plot?
I was like, who's Chrono
Time plot.
without an H? And then he just happens to need the or something. What is the Chrono Trigger? I can't remember. It's like the time thing at the end of the game. It's like a MacGuffin.
time
It's the
egg.
MacGuffin at the end of the game.
Yes. Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
MacGuffin.
And that happens to be with the CH. There's no line where he's like,
Optional,
huh,
but-
weird. We have the same name.
Yeah.
Only I don't have an H in my name. So that's
Jesus H. Christ.
that's what the story is about. It's about a guy named Chrono.
Chrono H trigger.
A Chrono H trigger.
Yep.
And who finds a princess at a fair and then goes on a time quest. And then finds out that there's an ancient creature from space that was then buried into the earth that is now coming up for destruction, and he must stop it.
Y2K. Yes.
Yeah.
1999.
So there's a bunch of little subplots and sub characters. The princess who Merle. This is a game full. This is a game full of names that I don't know how to pronounce. Marl was one of them.
You don't know how to pronounce Robo or Frog?
Raba, you mean? No, I'm kidding. Or
He's got
Frog.
like a turban.
There are some translation issues.
Rabba
Yeah.
with his
I-
turban.
I did call him Frog.
I would also say my favorite one is Magus, Magoose.
Magoose.
I never thought Magoose.
Mr. Magoo.
I thought Magoose on the way over here. I was like, what are the 9 different ways I could say that name by looking at it and not being clear? Magus. Is it Magus?
I think it's Magus.
See? I think it's Magus. You think it's Magus.
Tomato. I go with Joe.
There's a character in
Jake
Dragon
thinks
Quest
it's
8
Magoose.
that's called Magus or Dual Magus. So I'm pretty sure.
Magus. Oh, there you go.
I'm pretty sure it's
But
pronounced
isn't that
Magus.
another game without voice acting, so you don't know.
No, Dragon Quest 8 does have
Oh,
voice
Dragon
acting.
Quest 8.
Yeah,
I thought you
yeah.
said.
Don't
MMA.
make it.
Okay.
It's Dragon Quest.
Yeah.
I heard Dragon Quest,
That's
and
homage.
my brain turned it into Final
It has
Fantasy.
voice acting.
Are you sure it's
so
not pronounced Dual Magoose though?
I'm reasonably sure.
Okay. So it might be in another game, but
Would have been funnier if his name was Dual Magoose.
There's a frog who's out for revenge against Magoose, and
Frog is awesome.
Yep.
Frog is pretty sick. And a robot that needs to feel, or that does feel.
Robo is also cool as fuck, but
Yeah.
also
Those two
like,
characters.
just makes no sense.
Yeah. And then Ayla, I think is her name.
Ayla.
The
I
cave
pronounce it
lady,
Ayla. Yep.
which one?
The cave lady.
Oh yeah,
Cave lady
Hell
who
yeah.
was awesome. Yeah. Horny cave lady.
yeah. My
Dude,
party
if you
was
watch
her
the
frog. and-
AMV where she gets introduced, Chrono is digging it
Yeah.
the whole time.
Our silent
She is digging
protagonist
him
is still
just as
horny.
much. Though. See.
I know in the game, yes, but like in that AMV, he's like looking at her like open mouthed, and she's like kicking ass, and he's like, oh,
Like, yeah, she could beat me up. Oh.
And the other one is Luca. That's the other like main kind of character that's in there.
Inventor chick.
Yeah.
Whose dad gives you things periodically.
yeah.
If you remember to
You
talk
just-
to him.
When
Go
she's
back
never in
every
your
now and
party,
then.
like,
Yeah.
I never used her, so, oh, great, useless
As
piece
soon
of
as I
fucking
had
equipment
Frog
here.
and Robo, like, I don't need women's.
I only use Robo a little bit.
Oh,
That's
sad.
a shame.
I used Frog and Ayla.
Okay, that's a great
Robo
combo.
is amazing. You should have used him.
For in-game,
He is
yeah.
Strong as fuck.
In the lower tech spheres, he ends up getting electricity. So initially, it seems like he's not able to use magic because when you go to Spico and End of Time, you're like, oh, I can't teach him any magic. But the later,
Secretly, he has all of it.
he's got electrocute abilities and
Oh wow.
combos with Chrono that you could just wipe the floor with
Yeah.
everyone.
Also, Robo Tackle does a shitload of damage.
Yeah, but Robo is, OP'd.
I mean, the game's easy.
Also,
so,
also he heals everybody for a lot, and so does Frog. So
Yeah, mine
two
was-
healers that also do a good amount of damage.
my heal move was, I think, Frog and Chrono would like do a little spinneroo, and he would heal everybody up.
Yeah, that was a good one. But Frog with Marl was also a really good combo
Double cure.
for heals. Yeah, double cure. That one was pretty sick. And then they usually had like some decent magic, and then I would have Chrono be the beat stick. So that was my party. Now, when I was stuck as fuck on the final boss, not for any good reason, just for the battle speed.
Yeah.
That I thought I was changing my party around, like, oh my god, what have I done? What am I doing? And then, oh yeah, I'm just going super fast, and there's like, I'm not getting my. By the time I'm like hitting that button, like the speed of light has passed, and the enemy has had another turn, and then they hit me twice in a row when they didn't need to. So that's what got me stuck on the final boss. And there was like one other boss I was having issues with, but most of the game is pretty easy when it comes to the gameplay.
Yeah.
But on story, there is you've got your main plot, and then you have all these little choices that you can make that'll change some dialogue, and then will sometimes give you like a ending, like a bad ending. Sometimes I got one of those. I got like Lavos destroying the world at one point. You can also just like warp to the end of time at some point and just like end the game in a bad way if you wanted to. Now, if I were playing Nude Clan and I hated this game, I would have just hit one of those.
You can challenge Lavos pretty much any time as soon as you get the end of time.
He's not easy though. I tried to do that. And I died.
Yeah. I think you can New Game Plus it and kill him.
That's the whole
first
point to get all the
encounter.
extra endings is to do it as early as you can in the story of where any of the time gates are and just warp to the final battle.
Yeah, I was a little afraid when we had started this game because I had heard, it has like 20 different endings or
Yeah, I
something
was
like that.
Jesus.
Right.
And I was like, oh no, I'm gonna miss them. And I'm like, oh well, there's really only one ending.
Yep.
And everything else is like you fucked up. or you killed the boss like earlier, or something that's weird, and then we'll give you a cutscene.
It's kind of like how Nier Automata has like 20 endings.
Yeah.
But one of them is you eat a fish and explode.
They're not really endings. Yeah.
Suicide.
Yeah. So it's like, I guess that's an ending, but not what I was thinking
Yeah,
when you said ending.
Which I think is actually pretty innovating for a Super NES game.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, I think the biggest downside to this game is that we're playing it when we're playing it, because there's so many things that it did back in the day that now I'm like, yeah, that's kind of cool, I guess. Then I've got to realize, no, this is like 1996, 1995. I got to remember that when I think about it.
Yeah, but I mean, you can also appreciate like what it did then.
Everything about
Yeah.
it is aged like a fine wine. I don't really see much problems with it.
No, I don't think it didn't age well. I just think that all of the impressive stuff that it did isn't impressive to me in 2020.
Because now
Having
everything
seen
does
like
it.
a million versions of it.
Yeah, it's fair.
And so I'm like, it's pretty solid, but
What came out first, this or Live Alive? Because there was some Live Alive like
I think Live Alive
similarities.
is. I think Live Alive was a little bit first.
this also felt a little bit like
I'm not gonna look it up. Don't correct me.
what was that?
I'm looking it up right now.
What was that game on Super NES that we played that had Cecil? Oh, Secret of Evermore. It has
Yeah.
a feel like that too. where
Yeah,
it's
there's
like,
some similarities. there.
Here's the timeline. Here's the like different worlds you go to. Mm-hmm. I feel like they all kind of borrowed from whichever one came from.
Because the 2D backgrounds and the sprite work too. It's all a certain
It came
vibe
out in
and era.
1994.
So
Yes, it's-
Live
yeah.
Alive was first.
Yeah, it was
Okay.
September 2nd, 1994.
All right,
so
so-
just a little bit before.
So Chrono Trigger is actually taken from, like you were saying, Secret of Evermore, I believe, came before this too. So they were like in this world, this like mush of all these creative people in this Super NES era where they were really refining what they were doing. I think Chrono Trigger just came out of that kind of creative development.
Yeah, because of Tokita. Because
yeah.
Tokita did the Secret, the Mana series of stuff. So there's his influence in
So we
that
have
too.
Tokita and we have Sakaguchi and the Dragon Quest guys, and they're
Or-
all making this thing. So there's
Dream
definitely
Team for a reason.
Yeah,
That's why
Dream
they
Team.
called themselves that, and it stuck. It worked. They
Yeah.
made a classic.
I think this isn't something I said at the development, but it was something that we introduced with like this game is seen now even as one of the greatest games ever. Like if you see a list by a publisher or something like that, you see like this is in the top 20, right? Oftentimes, I remember on the Game Informer list is pretty old now, but it was like number. Was it like number 8 or something like that? It was super high.
Yeah, it's always way up there.
Yeah. So on the story front, which is kind of what we're used to judging, or we take it into account a lot with the Final Fantasy games. There's a lot of intricate stuff there. I think in its core, it's a bad, evil alien coming down and gonna destroy the world, and you gotta go kill it with a silent protagonist. Like in its core, it's really like silly and it's simple.
But it's
There's
still
a-
existential dread. You're like, but fate is going to be, and all right, we're going to test the waters and see if we could, change fate of what's supposed to happen with the doomsday.
Yeah,
but it doesn't get too much more complicated than that.
Final Fantasy VI has a similar thing to this, where like there's not really a story there. It's more like what the characters' journeys are, and
That's what adds to it.
It's pretty similar with Chrono Trigger, because like you see that with Frog and his like journey to take out Magus, and like the resolution.
You mean
there.
Magus?
Yeah,
Yep.
Magus or Magus or however.
Sorry,
however you wanna
sorry,
say that.
derailing you.
But like, no, you see that with him, and then you see that with like Robo's journey too, to like become like feel more and like go find more people or like other robots like himself, and then you like find them, and then he has a girlfriend that just dies.
So there's character beat
was
progression when you're in
really
that
dumb.
specific timeline, and then you get a further follow up if you do any of the side quests. Did any of you guys do the extra side quests?
Didn't do a single one, bro.
Oh darn! Okay. All right, so you go back to
I
each
thought we had to
character's-
beat this game a lot faster.
the-
Right.
So.
the end of
It's
the-
an extra hour for each one.
The side
but,
quests
yeah.
are basically the stories for
Yeah.
each character. Like it gives them like a wrap up before like
Robo
the
has a
final
girlfriend.
boss.
Yeah.
I did all of them but one because I thought I was doing the last one and it was actually going into the last dungeon. So I was like, I guess I'll just beat it.
That's
Omen or
the Black Omen.
Yeah.
yep.
Did you? So one of the things that's kind of a surprise is you can get Magus as a character, which if you've played Dragon Quest, it's not really that surprising that they added a secret character later on because they do that a lot.
Yeah.
But you can get Magus as a character.
Oh, was that you?
Yes, it's my
Phone's
work-
on silent.
My work
Jeez.
phone.
Well, I guess like the point that I was actually trying to make, and I'm agreeing with you, is that the core of the story is really simple, but I think the thing that makes it special is that it has so much time with all of these like little side characters, and I think for the most part they work really well. And there's a lot of they're really strong characters, really
They're
strong
fleshed out.
characterization, and especially for an SNES game, like they're really fleshed out.
Unlike FF, every one of those characters serves a purpose, and it goes all the way through perfectly fine.
You don't
and
think
isn't
Shadow's
just
dog serves a purpose. in
Shadow's
Final Fantasy?
dog. You don't get a necessary Kate Sith. You don't get a pointless Quistis. You don't get an Ico or Admirant from 9. You don't get an unnecessary Kamari from 10.
Look.
Like, there isn't one of those in
He's
this. that's
Yuna's
weak.
guardian.
I think
It is-
Kamaru
Yeah,
is
he's the
actually.
weakest character in 10.
He's the weakest, yeah. I would agree with that.
It is really strange to me though that basically what kind of becomes the plot for the game is mostly like a background for Magus. Because you find out like the one
It revolves
kid
all
that
around him.
like his mom is like the main bad guy that's like getting Lavos to do things, and then he turns out to be Magus, and all the shit he was doing was so that he could destroy Lavos himself, and he kind of becomes a dick that way, and
Yeah,
and then like it's really just his background, and then you do his like side story before you end the game, and it's like him going to those monsters that like kind of raised him after he like got flung out of time, and being like, hey, like we gotta take you out now because you're gonna fuck up everybody else. Because
That was a little cool story beat. Be like where you're still in your regular timeline, but you end up on the other side of the island, and it's this area of like monsters and stuff that you were what do they worship Ozzy.
yeah.
So that stuff with Ozzy and his minions and things like that. I thought that was pretty
I wonder
cool.
how the
they
story.
bat-
hate humans.
I wonder
and
how the
stuff like
bat
that.
monster feels about Ozzy.
Yeah.
He's like a little scared. Worships him in a fearful way.
But yeah, the entire plot ends up revolving around Magus.
Yeah, that's
In the
kind of
long run.
cool. Yeah, he's like supposed to be a bad guy, but really he's trying to be a good guy.
So that kind of creates an interesting
not nice.
grandfather paradox, because you always get the grandfather paradox when you're talking about time plots. But it's like he deliberately creates the mammoth machine, or gets everybody around him to create the mammoth machine, because he knows later on that Chrono's going to come through there with Masamune and the knife to destroy it. How about you just don't let them build the mammoth machine in the first place to summon Lavos? But then that's the whole grandfather paradox problem. And then
know.
you don't have a story. So
One of the most one of the most famous subplots in this game is the Masamune or the Masamune or whatever we're calling it sword. Again, another word that I don't know how to pronounce. I was calling it Masamune when we were playing whatever first Final Fantasy that shows up in, and then later I'm like, no, it's Japanese. It would be Masamune, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Or something like that. Not Masamune. Yeah, I thought the frog getting the sword at the end was pretty cool. I guess you can turn him. I guess he can turn into a human based upon your like
If you kill
choices.
Magus,
If you kill him, yeah.
then he
Which I
becomes a
spared
human
him.
at the end of the If,
yeah, you're not going
if you spare
not
him, then
use
he
him.
becomes part of your party. But if you kill him, then Frog becomes human again.
Yeah,
at the
because
end of the game.
he's the one that cursed Frog in his
Yeah.
party like forever ago.
Also, if you do Frog side quest,
flog slut.
if you do
Whoa!
these side
Frog
quests,
sled quest.
you upgrade the Masamune,
Yeah, it's pretty
Masamune
sick.
Plus.
and it does a lot more damage.
Yeah.
Like a lot more.
Really? I was trying to play this game without a guide. Tried really hard.
Good luck.
There was a certain point where I was like, I don't know where to go next. Actually, that happened probably like 5 times in the second half of the game.
A couple times with me too, so I had to look up where I was supposed to go.
So I just spared Magus Magus Magoose out of the kindness of my heart. I was just like, I'll forgive because I believe.
No,
in
you
Christ.
wanted an OP person because Chrono had just fucking bit
I
the
didn't know
dust.
it didn't say he's gonna become a member of your party. I didn't know that was gonna happen.
Sure.
I did save right before that and found out there was like 2 separate things. So I did kill him first, and then I was like, I'll also do this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I spared him. I remember my regret at. I think I didn't save Shadow
Yep.
in 4. I'm like, oh fuck, oops.
I always
6.
forget to
Takes
save
too
him
long to-
whenever I play 4.
Because you're just mashing through the dialogue. That's probably
Yeah.
why. Just like XX say, oh shit, I'm leaving him. Damn it.
Because I don't remember where it's at. And I'm like, fuck this.
I mean, it's when the continent's fallen, right?
Yeah.
But I just didn't want to load my save. I'm like, nah, dude, I don't want to do that again.
Poor
So,
Shadow.
This time I saved and Shadow was a good guy, and I killed him. This guy, I saved the bad guy. But yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, there's a lot of cool elements to that kind of story and gameplay where you can, like you said earlier, if you don't open a chest and you go deep into the future, the chest is like, I don't know, the item like gets more time to cook. And it's now a super version of whatever it was.
Well, that is a plot element too, because
It doesn't
the rainbow
degrade.
shell
Somehow
and the
it upgrades with
sunstone,
time.
You need to allow the sun to charge.
Yeah,
we're
yeah,
going to
yeah.
harness the power of the sun. That's what we're going to do.
Solar finally makes sense when you can advance.
After 65 million years, I don't know why everyone else is paying for panels. They're only going to charge so much after a million fucking years.
All you got to do is take one and a battery 65 million years ago
Later,
and leave
there
it in a
you go.
cave.
No, you finally paid it off.
Yeah. Now it's worth it. Success. But yeah, I thought that was super cool. And that's kind of like a story and gameplay thing where it combines it. And then you can go back to the past and open it up as the shitty item again, too. Like the one in Magus's castle or whatever. There's like a bunch of them in there where you can, if you leave them and go to the future, they're worth a bunch. But then when you go back to the past, they're still the original item, and you can just take it.
Yep, so there's ones for each of the 6 elements. You're like, okay, white, black, red, lightning, ice, water, stuff like that. It fully absorbs if you've allowed it to charge up, but then if you go back and do the other one, it takes half damage. So like that's how they've been able to scale it on that thing. So that's pretty cool, but as what Joe was saying, be like, yes, there's a few points that you can kind of like get lost or not know what's going on, but I don't think the world map and areas are too big to where you'd get lost for a long amount of time. So you could kind of like, what is it like?
It's like
other bigger
there's
scale
like
games.
9 different world maps. So when I'm like, I need to
It's like
Chrono
6.
trigger something.
It's like 6.
And I can't find who the fuck to talk to get me to the next thing sometimes.
Prehistoric, there's antiquity, that's 12,000. Then you can't go to 1999. You can go to 600, 1,000, 2,300. There's like 5 or 6
I
places.
wasted like
Not 9, but
I wasted like an hour and a half of my time when I thought that because of the way the dialogue was written and because of where I was in the story, like they were talking about this red gem that I needed to get before I had triggered it in another timeline. Like before I had triggered that story in another timeline.
That's fair.
And I'm like, okay, I can't find what became Isla. I can't find this red thing that everybody's talking about. I'm like, it must be up this gigantic mountain.
I did.
oh, you went to the
I went to the mountain. I went through that whole fucking thing.
I did too.
And I'm like, there's nothing here.
I spent
And that's
so much time leveling up in
Yeah.
there, and I was like, where the fuck?
God,
am I
why is it so
supposed-
hard?
yes.
Well, there's that. Like,
Jesus.
I was over leveled for like the rest of stuff because of that, and I was like, okay, it's still not like nothing's happening. So clearly, I must not have to go here yet.
Yeah.
But like,
Yeah, I did that shit too.
That's fair.
That's like,
fair.
that's when I pulled up the
Okay,
guide
you
for the
can-
first time. I'm
I
like,
did
what
that
the
like 2 or 3 times.
I also
in, like,
went through
each
the
of the
entire
zones.
sewer before I had
Yeah,
to.
I did that too.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my god, what
That's
the fuck?
not bad. That's not bad. That's
where am I
good because then
going
it'll
here?
help you with that boss fight. It's kind of actually kind of a pain in the
Fuck, it
butt.
was easy after
But-
you get lost in this hellscape.
Yeah. So maybe you can knock it a little bit for that, but I've come across games that have done it a lot worse.
Oh yeah, Digimon World 3.
Oh, God.
Way worse.
Right. So, I mean, there's
if it
that.
was actually
but-
a time plot and you have this whole world to yourself, why can't I find Ayla early? Why can't I find her earlier and trigger that kind of like storyline? Like, I know why. Limitations of the hardware. I do know why. But at the same time, I'm like, that is, I guess, a minor nitpick that I wish they could have done at the time, but it's not a big deal. I just was lost a lot. And I could have used
linear, non-linear time travel
Yes,
game.
exactly. I could have
it's
used
weird.
like the old guy in the end of time being like,
he does do that. It's just, it's
Go to the
not
sewers.
blatantly telling you where it is.
Yeah.
He hints to it. So that's a bit of a remedy.
Pretty vague what he
it's
says.
sometimes it's clear and then sometimes it's not. That's the truth on that guy.
But all he sits there and says, yeah, maybe you should go visit your own timeline. That's pretty a good, easy fucking indicator to go back to 1000 AD.
Did you guys forget about the airship for a little while too? Because I forgot about the airship when I got it. Because I
no.
stopped for like a week.
Oh, no.
I used that like exclusively after.
So you
I
had to
it.
walk around
Yeah, I
and
was
find the
walking.
airship again?
There was no more walking.
Oh
around
no,
once
that's
I had
that'd be a pretty bad
That's
place
why it
to
took me so
stop.
long to beat it. I was like, wasn't there like a ship? And then I finally remembered the button. I'm like, oh my fucking God. I'm like memorizing where the portals are. Like, oh, is it this world? Oh no, other world. And I'm going
So
back
you're
and
looping
forth.
back around, like doing a
Yeah.
figure eight. Be like, okay, here to here,
And that's a real bitch when you're
go
in the
back to the
future.
ship and like the end of time. And just
I
go into
forgot,
the
man.
hangar
Yeah.
Part.
I forgot about the fucking ship. And I'm like, Protodome is vicious, man. That's a long area with those stupid like Botox
Dude.
fucking enemies with like the big lips.
In
They don't do any damage.
trannies?
Yeah, but they won't.
the future when
Careful,
you have to
Dick.
like do that freaking race. both
Yeah,
forward
yeah.
And then back. Like, oh my gosh.
That took forever. But then I finally remembered there was a ship, and I was like, how do I get this thing? And then it was easy. But yeah, I fucking forgot that there was an airship, so I was spending like way more time just backtracking, walking, and like. Good thing I have these memorized.
So I guess the other thing about story that it's hard not to compare FF6 and Chrono Trigger because they're both seen as like the epitomes of RPGs on the
They have a
Super
lot of
NES.
similarities too.
There's a lot of similarities. And like which one is, I guess as a Final Fantasy fan, is like, is FF6 or Chrono Trigger the better game? And clearly, like, Chrono Trigger is usually ranked a little higher than FF6 on all these like big lists. I think a huge difference between them is the tone of the story. I think FF6 is really serious for the most part, outside of like the Moogle puzzle at the beginning of the game, and
And the rape octopus.
I was like, where are you going with this? I don't remember a rape.
That is
is-
what he is.
yeah.
And
Ultra sucks ass, and I fucking hate that game for it.
His ink is just chloroform. It's not actually
Jesus Christ.
Celis.
So that's largely a pretty serious story, and then this is like, yeah, you got the world's
Whimsical.
ending, but I would say, yeah, whimsical, more lighthearted. The characters are usually
That
pretty
Dragon Quest
lighthearted.
influence.
It's a lot more like FF5, probably like tone wise.
Tonally, yeah, or maybe it's Dragon Quest.
Yeah.
It is definitely like I would say a lot of it is Dragon Quest, and then maybe like dialogue is more on the earlier FF side.
It also fits Akira Toriyama.
Design. So Akira's design.
Well, it's his design, but I would actually say like the tone in Akira Toriyama stories are largely lighthearted until they're
Yeah.
not.
yeah. Okay.
That's
So
true.
I saw like similarities there. If you're dealing with Akira Toriyama's artwork and he's at the peak of his career right there, there's going to be some influence on there, even if he's not written as like the writer.
Yeah, the final boss is just Cell from Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah, it kind of looks like him. Yeah.
It is him.
Yeah,
Because the design also, you could tell by the sprites that you don't, whether it's just through dialogue or just what's going on in a scene, the sprites like have emotion to them. So you could tell like when something's supposed to be whimsical or like really, really serious, you could tell by even in the side characters or things that's going on in the scene. Like when Chrono is escaping from jail and you come across the dragon thing, you could just, the eyes pop open or they get really, really close and get serious and then it like destroys it. And then next thing you know, everyone's blown up in the air, eyes are popping open, and then they all drop and they form a bridge for you to walk across. That's fucking hilarious.
You know what part of the story that this is silly to like break apart an SNES story like this, but it's like the copying of the body section.
Oh, yeah, when you like replace it with like a stupid clone thing.
Another one that, of course, I had to use a
Like a paper
guide to
clone.
find where the
Yeah,
hell
I
it was.
had to as well because that shit was stupid.
Wait, you didn't know how to clone Chrono? Huh? You didn't know how to clone Chrono?
No,
No.
Oh, I knew where to go. I didn't need a guide in that part.
Kind
Like
of what
the
I was
wow.
supposed to go. I didn't know I had to do
I
that.
don't think I ever talked to the guy in that tent to like find out that was a thing.
I talked to him originally,
not
and I was like, "This
paying
is
attention
stupid,"
enough.
and I didn't know what the point of
yeah.
it was, so I just fucking left and didn't do that
Yeah,
until
I
like
knew-
the end of the game.
You know what the problem for me was? My fucking DS, the buttons are like wearing out. And so trying to do that fucking mini game where I'm like, do the surprise face, do the left, the right. My right doesn't fucking
Hey,
work.
you want to know what's real cool about that mini game? It's sound based, and guess who didn't have his fucking sound on?
Oh, yeah.
I had to fucking guess.
You could keep losing, or
Well, I had a-
There are a lot of mini game cues that are sound based in that game, and they were stupid.
I didn't have a controller layout. I just had the keyboard, so I spent a good amount of time absolutely fucking up my like controls in order to like play that mini game. And then I had to write down. I'm like, oh, X is this button, A is the, and then I had to like, okay, like I had to like
set it up like a
practice the
SNES
pattern.
controller. Yeah,
Yeah.
Just,
Yeah,
Yeah.
like your hands have been crushed into fucking.
That
Yeah,
thing-
child
that
hands.
mini
that's why I'm
game
playing PC. Yeah,
way too long. Way too long.
The mini game,
Only
yeah.
if
you had to
suck
do it
at
like 100 times.
Dude, I know, and my
Just
shit
do
was
like
broken.
5.
I
Jesus
know your
Christ.
I know your pain because if it would do like the right button too soon, I would just fail because it wouldn't work. I had to like fucking
There's-
smash that.
there's a
Fucking
trick to
DS.
doing that.
Get a
Yeah?
working.
Yeah, you just
console.
don't do it, and then you pretty much pay him to get the time egg. You
Oh.
could do that if you have enough money on you. Yeah.
Oh no! You know what?
Yeah.
I think I think I did.
you could
that.
do that.
I
So
had a lot.
I didn't.
So
I played
that would
it.
have been nice.
Yeah, if you walk instead of taking the airship, you're gonna be rich.
I think it was
Yeah.
at that time that I was like, oh, I don't have Chrono in my party. I better get all the best weapons I can find, and so I spent all my money.
Oh
Yeah.
shit.
So that didn't happen.
I
for
did
me.
buy my way out of that. Now that I think about it,
yeah,
Cheating
that's
bastard.
fine. See, there's always an end game to everything.
Like,
It's
fuck
fine.
this.
It's
Oh my
set up.
God.
Yeah.
DS
I
is
did it,
broken.
and I didn't have sound, so that was annoying.
So I guess in general terms, what did you think about the story?
I think it's a pretty standard JRPG story. I don't think the time plot was really offensive in any way. It's funny because I was thinking about Craig, and I was like, "Man, that's funny that
He's
we
gonna hate
invite him
time
back.
plots.
We invite him back for a time plot, but I'm like, this one's not that bad. It's not FF8 bad.
It is not as egregious as FF8, that is for sure.
I mean, it's probably like the best game time plot I've played, I guess. But I've only really played like 2 time-based video games. So
3 or 4.
which
13
ones?
too.
Oh,
Gets counted in that along with 8.
yeah.
See, but I don't find 13 too egregious either because it knows what it is and doesn't take itself too serious. So they're kind of similar in that way.
Yeah, I also don't really care about the story in 13.2.
Right.
But I would say that it's up there. It's weird though because as far as Super Nintendo stories, I think it's one of the. I don't think the story's as good as FF6. I think it's probably as good as FF4, maybe. But overall, I do think the character development was really solid, especially doing all those extra side quests, kind of fleshing everything out. I thought all of that was really well done, and while I don't think the story is, like amazing, I
It's
also
not
don't
emotionally
think it's,
charged or anything.
yeah, it didn't like affect me to where I'm like thinking about it.
It doesn't take a huge risk like that. It just keeps it simple.
Yeah, but it's like it's kind of paint by numbers, and it works well. So I don't have any problems with the story, really.
I would say for the time, outside of I guess Live Alive, which came before it, they're like having such all those I guess all those different complexities, all those different timelines and everything like that, having like a core simple story with really fun characters was kind of how you kept the player engaged in the story a little bit. So I thought that I liked the story. I had fun. I had fun with it. I thought a lot of the characters were fun. I really like Ayla and Frog. Yeah, it's just I would say it's lighthearted, and I thought that matched the game perfectly. So
Yeah, I mean, overall, I like the more serious stuff more, but the whole game was, just like a fun adventure. It was like a real FF5 kind of vibe to it. Like you're going to go out and you're going to go explore and you're going to go figure stuff out. And there's some darkness in it, just like at the end of FF5 when your Fusoya dies. Or whatever his name is.
Fusoya is 4.
Fuck! See?
Jeez,
I did this
man.
back then, too.
Golf.
No, it's Tella.
Tella's 4 too.
Oh my god, we did this.
Galoof? Or-
Galoof. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Galoof. Yeah.
You
that's
said
right.
golf. And
Yeah.
I was like,
Galoof was the best part of 5, and
Yeah.
I hate it for killing him.
Yeah.
spoilers.
No Fusoya side up in that one either.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah, FF4 just everyone dies. It's
Crack
easier to
egg.
just say that.
Yeah, everyone
But-
dies,
And then
but then no
doesn't
one
die.
dies.
Yep.
Unless you were 900 years old, and then you're still dead.
Jake, what do you think generally?
I think it's phenomenal. It's not better than FF6. It keeps it simple. Keep it simple, stupid. It doesn't take risks, which some people like for the most part. So it leans more into the Dragon Quest side of storytelling than it does Final Fantasy, because it's not some huge overarching theme of, we're going to explore, the meaning of life or things like that. But I find no problems with it. It focuses more on being a game first than a story first. So 9 out of 10, it's pretty close to perfect, and it doesn't do anything wrong. I don't find any of the time plot stuff to be offensive.
For what it is, SNES.
it doesn't
Oh,
do
yeah.
anything wrong.
Okay.
I don't think 30 battles at the end of the game is
That's a gameplay thing, not a story.
I think
story related.
It does kind of tell the story a little bit there, where you're like, this is big and
You don't
scary.
like the stress? You don't like the
It's
stress?
not stress. The entire thing was super easy, except for the fact that you had to do like a million fucking fights for no reason at all.
Yeah.
That's every JRPG's final big finale of 4 fights.
It's not just one.
I do
It's
think
5.
I do think that that's stupid as well, but like
It's a trope.
30 is fucking overkill. All right.
It's not 30.
It was
oh my
12,
Dude,
I
if you
believe.
go through the
but-
Black Omen, you have to fight like the queen 8 fucking times, and she's part of that fight because you immediately go into Lavos
Yeah.
right after that, and then you have to fight every fucking boss battle that you just fought all over again through Lavos, and then he's got like 3 additional forms after that. So it's like
You mean Lavos' right nut?
Yeah.
Each testicle
and
and
his
then the
fucking
shaft.
the fucking testicles.
Resurrection
The
metaphor here.
resurrection
Now-
testicle, which is fucking annoying because it has like 4 billion HP.
Yeah.
And I
I
was
mean-
just like, I killed the main body, and I was like, why the fuck is this still happening? And then I looked at
it's
a
a
guide to be
trick.
like,
It
what the
gotcha.
fuck is this? And it's like, oh yeah, his right nut is actually himself. And I was like, what?
I mean, it's
It's
worth it,
my
though.
true form.
It's worth it, though, because you get Ayla to turn towards Chrono and say, and now for the shaft.
Yep.
After each ball is gone.
It's the Yevon testicle. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just going to mutate itself into someone else's sack from time to time and resurrecting.
We're getting
I
into
think
game-
it's genius.
We're bleeding into gameplay a little bit. What do you think about the story overall, Craig?
Overall, the story, I would say that it is pretty much on par with Final Fantasy VI in a lot of the ways. The one thing that I wish it would have done is that Final Fantasy VI did do better is like it kept the consequences. So, Final Fantasy VI, Kefka destroyed the world, and it just fucking stays that way. They don't magically fix it. And I do think it would have been a little more impactful if you had like Magus earlier, so you could kind of see what was going on with him sooner rather than like at the end of the game, basically. And then also if like he had just become the main character after Chrono just dies.
Yeah.
It would have
him be
made
the
way
party
more
lead?
sense. Would have been would have still kind of been on tone because there were some darker moments in Chrono Trigger, and I think that would have just been more acceptable, like story wise. Like it would have been more solid, and a lot of people probably would have cared more that the main character just fucking dies and you get a new one.
Yeah, because
I never thought about that as an alternative.
when he died, I was like, "Oh, we're just gonna get him back."
Yeah,
I mean,
because like
it's
that's,
a time
you
game.
It's a time. Yeah, like you
You
expect them to
played
be like
so many of those types of games before, not back then.
You just kind of expect like, oh, they're just gonna go in the past and get Chrono from the past, and he's gonna be like, it's gonna keep going for some reason, or they're gonna do some other bullshit. And then they did. They just
did.
pulled out some other bullshit.
Yeah, some other bullshit is definitely. What they
There's
did.
like, here's this doll that's just gonna die for him instead, and it's,
yeah,
Poor
it's
doll.
like
so it wasn't actually Chrono that
the
died.
Christ doll.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
like the fucking Moogles in FF15.
So
It's like it just looks like absolute shit. It doesn't even look like him. Plushie is like, now you die. This fucking shitty ass ragdoll.
but
That was pretty dumb, actually. Now that I'm thinking, it's really kind of stupid.
it is really stupid. And I do.
Why
think,
couldn't you just go back and then like yoink him into the future? Why you got to put a doll there?
It's a very Dragon Ball thing. To me, that's like I don't know. That feels like Akira Toriyama.
They basically did york him into the future. They just left a doll there to be like,
But, like, what
surprise,
heat?
you killed him.
Yeah, but it's like, what does that change though? I mean,
It doesn't change anything. It's just
Yeah.
like
But
there you
everything
go.
can become a grandfather paradox. I get it.
Why did he burst into feathers when I murdered him?
yeah,
It's so weird.
That doesn't feel like a natural death.
yeah.
What was he? What kind of creature?
I mean, you don't have to get
it was
him
just a
back.
body
you
pillow
can just beat
of-
the game
of
that
Chrono.
way, and you get a different ending. So leave it open ended.
That would have been crazy though if you killed him and he was just dead, and now you had a new main character.
I think that
Be
I
an
honestly do
interesting
think that they
twist.
should have done that because,
damn.
like, if you think about it, Magus kind of was the main character of the game. Like, it just like Balthier is really the main character of Final Fantasy 12. No, but you just see things through like
Von's stupid
Von's
eyes.
You just see things like
Fun, stupid
it's this-
fucking
it's-
jacket.
It's the It's
Yeah.
a similar thing with Chrono Trigger. They get caught up in like Magus's fight against Lavos, and really that's kind of like the same sort of thing. So like Magus is the main character. You find out that he's been trying to fucking kill Lavos since he was like 8 years old, and so it's like, why not just fucking like get Magus earlier or play through part of his storyline like during the thing.
Yeah, that
and
could be
then,
pretty cool,
And then
yeah.
have him join the party and take over like Chrono's place, because he kind of does already. It just should have been earlier, kind of.
Yeah, that would have been an interesting way to go.
And
about
then it would have been, an interesting like shift story wise. And so I think that's kind of what they should have done. But other than that, yeah, I enjoyed it as well. It's like it does feel Dragon Questy, but it also has some of that older Final Fantasy flavor to it as well.
Okay, let's talk about gameplay. Speaking of gameplay, if you want to play the game to the best of your abilities, you should try out Magus Mind or Magic Mind. Go to magicmind.com to learn more. They were going to sponsor this episode. We took too long to get this out, and
Yeah, there was some misunderstandings, and we took a long time for this.
yeah, so they did give us a bunch of Magic Mind, and it's excellent stuff. And they gave us like a sleep thing too. Right?
Yeah, you got a sleep mind too over there. I don't think that's what it's actually called, but
Did you tried that?
yeah. I feel like I slept like a log, so it seems to have worked. But yeah, they gave us a free trial
Just
of that.
NyQuil and chloroform.
Yeah,
No. But anyway, just thank you, Magic Mind, for sending us that stuff. And if you guys are interested in Magic Mind, go check them out, please.
Yeah.
Now, actual gameplay on Chrono Trigger, the game. pretty simple, right? Pretty simple battle system. I know it was a pain for them to make the battle system because apparently it was a real technological feat what they had to pull off with all the character animations and the seamless like transitions, and apparently that's a big, huge fuck up with the Final Fantasy, not Origins, Final Fantasy Chronicles version.
Chronicles.
Yeah, Chronicles.
That's how they're gonna fucking justify calling it an FF game. I swear to God.
Besides that, like, it's got a lot of elements from Final Fantasy in there, obviously. It brings in this combo idea between characters. I don't know if I've seen that in a game older than this, but maybe. I don't know.
There's not really any games now that do anything like that either. So it's still really interesting, even now, that because I mean they've had what was that one game that you guys played for Nude Clan that was similar to Chrono Trigger? Those spiritual I Am or something.
Setsuna.
Oh, Setsuna,
didn't that have like a similar like team up thing,
double and triple tech system?
Yeah. So I mean, like, there's outside of like clones, there's not really anything that kind of does like team up skills or anything like that.
They added that. So that was new for this game. They also had. And it was still like an active time battle system. You could select it as wait, or you could select it as active. And I'm gonna die anytime soon. That system, I always set it to wait. I don't know if you guys.
I had it like,
and I had it super fast.
Yeah, and then I got to the second to last boss, and I
had to
couldn't, man.
I had to slow it down and put it on wait when I was fighting Magus because he was the hardest fight in the game by far. Because I was just auto battling fucking everything.
Yeah.
Because the characters would just destroy super fast with the regular attacks. So I didn't even need to use abilities until like Magus.
I think he was hard for me because I only had one
tier level on the
lightning
spells.
level.
Yeah.
And like only one guy had it. So like everyone else was just trying to stay alive, and he was just dunking lightning spells. And then after I beat him, I unlocked lightning spells for the other two, and I'm like, oh, thanks.
Oh, no.
Fucking thanks. But he was tough. But yeah, the battle speed combined with a DS that doesn't really work, and you don't know if it's like the game being slow or if it's the console not functioning. Also, you got to go and dig through 9 fucking chapters of abilities to fucking select in this thing. And that is the one thing about it that is not intuitive at all. Yeah. You'll like get your combos, and then like you gotta like fucking scroll through pages of combos while this guy is just fucking nailing you. And I'm like,
that's why you gotta put it on wait. You gotta put it on wait. Even then, I had it on wait, and the final boss was because my speed was up so high. I couldn't get to the next character to select them, or I couldn't get to that character like within that character's menu to select their next attack before he attacked me twice in a row. Which, if you let the final boss attack you twice in a row, it's pain. Like,
it can kill you.
It can kill you. So outside of it, the game was super easy. Outside of you fucking yourself over, the game is really, I would say, lighthearted in the battle system too. It's like it's stripped down, has some interesting mechanics. It's cool that it's not like what we're used to all the time with these games, which is like a set a new screen. It's on the map.
A lot quicker.
You run into you see the enemies on the map. That's the first. This, as far as I know, it's the oldest game that's ever done that I played.
I don't know.
Where you see the dudes, and you don't always. Sometimes they ambush you, and it's just like classic.
There's a couple of force battles.
Yeah. So I really had fun, and I think something that made it super fun was the battle music, where I was like, like I'm ready for do 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 do
it slaps.
Yeah. So even if I only got that for like 6 seconds while I slaughtered everyone, it was still pretty sick.
Yeah. So as far as like my gameplay experience with those things, I turned the battle speed all the way to the max because I know the game in and out, and I just grind it away. I didn't realize there was a auto battler thing for like Steam and DS.
Oh man!
So as soon as I got to, but it was pretty quick and easy because I always had the speed up all the way up. Early on in 65 million BC, after you go to the main area, you go up north.
When I was a young man.
I know, right? Up north to the pterodactyl's nest. There's those first two creatures right there, and there's a combo ability between Chrono and Robo where he spins because Robo tossed him. I could auto kill anything there, leave, go back in. And it's so quick and seamless that all the sprites are there and it doesn't take forever for a battle. So I went there and auto battled my own way for 40 or 50 levels. And I already got to level 60 by the time I hit there. And so later on, I'm talking to you guys into the chat, and they're like, "There's an auto battle system." I'm like, "Son of a bitch, are you fucking kidding me?" I'm 90% done with this game, and it's already there. So
Could have saved probably at least 2 hours of your life.
Yeah, but I ran so quickly. I beat the whole thing and all of its endings in 20, 25 hours. This game isn't too long.
It took me longer
that
just
it
to beat
doesn't
it the one time.
overstay its welcome. That's what I like.
Yeah.
It doesn't take 50, 60, 70 hours, some extra bonus dungeon that takes 3
It's not
hours.
Xenogears where it's fucking 62 and they only gave us half the game.
I want to say that back then, with the RPGs that Square was putting out, they were usually between 20 and 30 hours. So this is kind of
It's about right.
in
I
that
guess.
range.
Yeah.
They started getting longer on the PS1. I think the games are just longer and slower on the PS1, just in general, just because.
In the pace. Yeah.
The pace of the actual game are just slower. I don't know if there's any more in there, but I remember FF5. We 100%ed it. It was 30 hours.
Yeah.
So
Tower and everything.
yeah, so that's pretty it seems like a short RPG now, but I think for back then that's pretty normal for
Oh, yeah.
what Square was putting out. I don't
At the
know.
time.
I don't know about
Nowadays-
Dragon. How long were the Dragon Quest games in the
About the
SNES
same length,
era?
yeah.
Okay, 20 to 30 hours or something.
Yeah,
Starting with 3,
the
Dragon
first
Quest 1 and
was
2.
8 hours. The second one was
15
maybe double that, and then they just
from Dragon Quest
hit
3 onward.
20 to 25 hours about.
Okay.
Yeah.
What
And as
about-
far as the other thing, you could cursor memory. I don't remember what they specifically called
Yeah,
it.
you can
Oh.
memory on.
Oh, use that
For the
yeah.
spells on stuff, so that I'm always gonna have someone healing and always
That
have
shit-
Chrono do Luminaire.
Did not work.
But you don't have
At
to.
all
You don't
for
have
me.
to use the same spell every time.
Of course, for
I
you,
had it
Craig.
turned on, and I had to scroll through that
Yeah.
fucking menu every time.
And that's what we were just bitching about, while you were taking your shit.
It was a piss.
Yeah. The fucking the annoying part of the battle is you're fucking going and oh, I need to get this ability, and the guy's just fucking railing your ass, and you're just scrolling
Whoa.
through a list of fucking
Pause.
items.
Pause.
What ability do I
That's
want?
a sus
Well,
comment.
and that's the
Yeah.
the whole point of the wait system is while you're in the menu, they have to fucking stop. But
Oh, it doesn't
they-
work?
They
it
still
does
fucking,
if they've already gotten ahead with you. It just doesn't give them extra time. So obviously they were going to be able to attack before you, so they attack. But their bar isn't filling up while you're in wait. So it's fair. It's not
Because I
bullshit.
accidentally had the battle speed max. In the last fight, I lost because I was I couldn't find my fucking heal. I'm panicking. Oh my god!
So you
I'm
may
gonna
not
die.
be able you may not be able to see the boss's gauge, but view it from the opposite lens of when a boss is attacking and your bar is filling up. Your bar still pauses when he's doing his attack. Now, in between, it was, filling up a little bit, but when he goes to do the attack, you go into wait mode, and you're not
okay.
quite there, or you're only so much full on the bar. He does the same thing, too.
Oh, okay.
So,
I never used the weight. I just turned it from 10 to 6.
Well, I was sick and tired of fucking scrolling through that goddamn menu while I was getting slammed. So
Yeah.
I put it on wait to and it did help a little bit, but not as much as I was hoping.
Well, and it's hard because everyone's speed is kind of similar, so you can't quite tell who's got what, and so you're looking for the heal, and it's oh, I'm on the wrong character for the heal. It's the other guy.
And for the whole fight with the fucking queen, I was spamming Ultima fucking crazy.
Yeah.
And or Luminary or whatever it was fucking
Yeah,
called.
oh, that one's nuts.
and I had to fucking scroll all the way to the goddamn bottom of his fucking little thing to be to spam that thing. It's and of course there's no fucking cursor memory for some reason,
And it's
even with it turned
9,000
on.
MP too, so you gotta then
whatever.
dig
Yeah, and
through
then you
your
gotta
fucking
use the
bag.
fucking mega ether or whatever they fucking call it
Yeah, you
to
gotta-
every fucking turn or every other turn.
When I had to restart on her a couple times, and I probably could have just brought down the battle system and I probably would like the speed of the battle system, and I probably would have been fine like it was on the final boss. Now that I think about it, but that was when I decided to go do some like leveling, and
The queen was really annoying.
yeah,
Like really annoying.
she was the other boss that I had issues with.
Yeah, Magus and her, I think, were the most annoying fights, and then the rest was.
Whoa! I got another annoying one because I was going to do some of the side quests, and then I hit a brick wall
With what?
with the flame things for frogs.
The first one, yeah.
Dude,
That's the hardest.
Dude, I realize now again I could have just brought down the battle speed and had a few extra hits on those fucking things.
Quick.
But I was flabbergasted.
Oh, for the
I was
fucking
like,
sun thing?
Yeah.
I
Sun
tried
sigil.
doing that, and I was like, this is bullshit. And then I decided to turn around and not do that quest.
You have to, like,
that's what I also did, and I was like, guess I'm gonna go beat the game because fuck
you
that.
got to figure out which one it is and then attack it before it switches which one it is.
Oh, I understand, but it switches after one hit from me. So I would do one hit, and then they
fucking
would switch.
spinning top,
And I'm like,
yeah.
okay, so there's a 1 in 6 chance I'm going to hit the right one.
Yeah.
And how many times do I have to do that? Thousands?
It took a while.
And you're not allowed to fucking hit all of them at once, otherwise
No.
you get your fucking ass reamed.
yeah, that's
yeah.
right. And so that must have been a battle speed issue because I'm like, you
Nah, dude,
must be able to hit.
I turned it down, and it still was super annoying.
Okay, but super annoying versus impossible.
Yeah.
I guess you turned around. You guys did it though, right?
I did it.
I still said this was fucking retarded and left. So
I almost didn't. I was like, God, if every side quest is going to be this brutal, I don't know if I want to do this. And then all the rest of them were all easy. But yeah, that fucker was nuts because it was the same thing. It's like the speed's too high. You got to figure out which one it is, and maybe you can hit it twice, and then you got to figure it out again.
Yeah, apparently there was a combo of characters that made it a lot easier, but
I think Luca.
I wasn't leveled up
and
at
you're
that
supposed to
point
have
for them.
like the flame resistant armors,
which I had.
So that-
I actually had that.
I had that. I used those too because.
But I was like,
looking
I
at
don't
the
have
guide for
9
it,
hours to
and
do
then I
this.
was like, yeah, I don't like this, and so I'm just.
Is there anything else about gameplay we haven't touched on so far?
What did you guys think about the Dalton fights?
Dalton fights.
Yeah, the little lackey in 12,000 BC, the lackey of Skala. You always beat him. He only does attacks
Oh,
that
you
do
mean
half.
the big dinosaur dude?
No. Dalton is the lackey of the queen.
Oh,
yeah.
I remember who you're talking about. It's
Yeah,
fine.
all the fights are winnable. He's an idiot, and he keeps like doing something wrong, and all the attacks can only attack you for half, and you end up kicking his ass every time. Like the genies show up, or not genies, whatever the fuck they're fucking called. The what are those guys called? I can't
Jake,
remember.
The sad reality is we beat this game like 2 months ago.
I know.
The other part of it is
They're like ogres. There we go.
I only
ogres.
remember
And
the fights that give me a pain in the ass. Like that's the problem with these games. I'm like, I'm sorry, I didn't remember. I still don't remember who Dalton is, but
He's
I remember
that,
Dalton
one-
steals the airship.
Yeah,
Okay.
he's the one that like kind of kidnaps you and puts you in jail after Chrono dies or whatever.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
He,
that's
he
actually
shows
the
up
game.
at a couple of
And then you have
instances.
that
as,
really
like,
annoying sequence where you're trying to fucking like go through the air shafts and avoid being seen.
Oh, yeah.
he's
yeah,
kind of the mini
okay.
boss before each time you go to face off against the queen.
That part
Gotcha.
made me unreasonably angry. And
The
I
air
did-
Because they
Nuts.
take away your
Yes!
stuff.
It's fucking
Oh,
dark
no.
as shit. There's like no fucking like.
There's hidden
it's a
passageways
maze.
everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like what the fuck is this? So, like I don't know where I'm going, what I'm doing in here. Like there was.
It took a
no
long
explanation.
time.
I will say it pales in comparison to the final area in Xenogears. So
Yeah. Oh.
just be
yeah.
thankful you haven't played that recently.
So the only like, if you had Ayla, she was the only character who was able to fight.
Yeah,
by
you
the
couldn't-
way,
yeah,
because
'cause
she
your
doesn't
weapons
have
were
a
gone.
weapon.
That's
Yeah.
a trope.
But it's
Yeah.
retarded because like Robo's weapon is his fist. Is he also not allowed to fight?
I know.
Where's his hands?
It's like yeah, sure, you
These
took,
fisto
you took
mine.
away his like super fist, but like he still has a fist.
Oh, the fist.
He still has his entire body. Does
Yeah.
he not discharge electricity still?
Dude, we're talking about
Have
fists
Ayla
and
pick him
discharging
up
right
and
now.
just chuck him at enemies. Just
Like,
like,
dude, do they just fucking disable all weapon systems? Like, come on.
Yeah, they should have given him like tiny hands
If there was gonna be two characters, like they have magic now too. Did they shut that down?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Fair.
This is-
I had Ayla,
They
so I
had
was
a
like,
way.
oh, I guess I'll just fight.
They still had a way to fight, and they just were like, nah, only Ayla can fight.
Yeah.
Like Ayla beat people up. Ayla like snoo. Kino watch from cuck chair.
I did think Snoo with her.
Yeah.
Sure.
Kino likes to watch. Me, you, Chrono now.
I don't know. I like the game. I like the gameplay. I thought it was fun.
Yeah.
It's not super easy. I know we're making it seem super easy
Oh,
because we understand
shit.
all these intricate things. But if you don't you can't just attack.
If you
like,
leave
I've
the-
come across some games where you just attack or level spectrum.
It's pretty on the easy side.
Yeah,
True,
I mean,
true. But
all
what I'm
games
saying
are
is-
on a spectrum, but this one,
The players are
I'm especially
also
on a spectrum.
Yeah. When it's live a live.
But what I mean by that is you can't just level yourself up specifically on some boss fights. You still need to understand the
Yeah.
system a little bit. You just can't mash X to win. Because some of the fights, you're like, oh, okay,
Some
I
of
just
the
can't
fights,
do that.
sure.
You still have
You gotta figure out
Like
what
the
your
ones where they're like,
weaknesses.
the top half is only weak to physical attacks, and the bottom
Right.
half
So there's
you have
enough
to
there that
fuck with magic.
It's a good introduction to anybody doing this as like a first JRPG
Oh, yeah,
and
and
stuff.
then the dinosaur that
Yeah.
only takes
Yeah.
electric damage.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
The water dinosaur.
I agree with that. It's like a little kid RPG,
Yeah.
JRPG. Like it's pretty easy outside of a handful of spots. I would say like FF9 is kind of similar that way, where it's like kind of hard in a couple spots, but otherwise like a really easy
That's
game.
really easy.
And it really is just for me. I don't think that entire game would have been hard if I had just brought the battle speed down. If I didn't realize I had fucked myself by putting that battle speed up so high. Those two fights that I thought were difficult, the Queen fight and the final fight, they probably would not
Honestly,
actually have been difficult at all.
If the what is that fucking thing called? The cursor memory. If that had actually worked, my battle speed could have been a little higher,
Yeah.
quite frankly. But
Okay.
because it didn't work,
Mine worked just fine, Craig.
I had to scroll through the fucking skills and the menu for items every fucking time.
Dude.
And there was no forgiveness. On
And you were just getting wailed on.
Yeah, 'cause
Okay.
it's like, you know, the freaking Ultima is on the bottom of Chrono's
Yeah.
like ability list, and I'm like,
Luminaire. So I mean, but otherwise, like if I'm thinking about the
heals were also like halfway
heels were a pain in
down.
the ass.
Yeah.
If I'm thinking about the other JRPGs from Square that I've played in this time period, this is the easiest one by like a mile. FF5 and 4 and 6 all have their moments of like, well, 6 is kind of the easiest of those, but they all have their
6 is
moments
also
of like,
easy.
fuck you, especially 4 and 5.
the moon.
Yeah, FF5's final boss is
X-Death is something else.
extremely difficult. And there's some bosses in the final area of 4 that are also brutal.
Yeah.
There are some pain in the ass parts of 4.
I would say like once you go to the moon in 4, it's a hard game.
Yeah, because everything starts poisoning you for no goddamn reason.
Yeah, all sorts of stuff.
Everything on the moon is poisonous. Just remember that.
and this game,
If you trip and you cut yourself on a rock, you're
Ghost
poisoned.
poison, yeah.
yeah, that's this game, kind of a breeze, but again, it's fun. And I guess there's enough challenge in it that you do have to think about it.
Once
Which
you
is-
get you don't get status effects
yeah.
pieces, you're just sailing
Yeah.
through that game because fuck that.
So I like the game.
I do too.
Yeah, I
love
think
the
it's
gameplay.
I think it's solid. I wish there was some more, like in Xenogears, where you do the button combos to unlock the combo. I thought that was kind of a cool system. I wish they would have done a little more with the combos. I want something that's like a hybrid between this and Xenogears, as far as like you get
Me
a
too.
combo, you have to like create it, and then it becomes a combo that you unlock. Where like Xenogears, it's like if you do X 40 fucking times, you get a new ability. But if
You
you,
get
do
double
X and
X.
circle, yeah. You unlock a new one if you do X and circle enough in conjunction. This one was a lot more stripped down than that. I one of my grinding spots was there's a fucking like part in one of the castles, I think, where you go into this room and there's a save, and then there's like 2 levers. One of them drops 2 dinos down.
Oh, yeah.
And one of them
65 million.
opens up the fucking floor and just they die.
You drop the dragons.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh,
But
that's awesome.
It counts for experience.
That's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Do that over and over again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just go
Did
back
that
to the
once
save
because it
point.
was like the story thing. I didn't realize you could just keep doing.
Yeah,
that.
you can
It's
keep going.
ridiculous.
But
The trick is to go 2 screens away or hit a save point, and then you go back to it, and it could keep going and doing it again.
Yeah.
It's 2 screens that reset enemies onto the map.
yeah.
That's insanity.
But this one, you didn't get XP for dropping them and killing them, but what you could do is if you hit them with electricity, it would stun them, and then I could kill them in like one move. And it was like 1,000 XP back when I was like in the 20s to 30s. So like I spent about an hour in there, and I gained like fucking 11 levels or some shit.
Yeah. The snowy mountain at the end of time, I believe, was technically like one of the best grinding spots, and that's where I did some grinding just because of the queen.
I did it
was
because I couldn't fucking figure out where to go for like 9 weeks.
So I was like, I'm gonna level up 10 levels, and I just went there, and it didn't take that long at all. I just would go to a screen, kill the guy, leave the screen, come back, and there was a whole bunch of guys I was fighting in the one battle, and
I can't remember where
Wasn't too
I
bad.
was. There was one spot where I was trying to grind out dudes, and then they just stopped spawning at some point, and I was like, "Oh, that's annoying."
The mountain doesn't do that. Like there's times where there's too many dudes on the mountain, like when they're like fucking doing their little like thing, and you're trying to run across the snowy part, and you get like 7 of them, and it's like, oh man,
yeah, that's where I
a lot of guys.
because it's basically like second to the last thing in the end game, and so the enemies are quite a bit of experience. In the end game, there's no like final dungeon. It's just like it's the big huge fight, an open room, and then lava. So there's not really like a place to grind in the final area like you would have in other RPGs, I guess.
You just got to find circumventing ways for it. If you do a robo side thing, there's a conveyor belt, and that's like 6 or 7 fights that you could do in a row. And then you just take the conveyor belt back to the beginning, and then you go down the belt again. That's another trick way.
Yeah. That one was good.
Yeah.
I didn't do it on purpose, but I did it.
Very easy grind spots all throughout this game for you just to
What did
OP.
you guys have equipped to your characters for like setup?
Whatever was the best.
Yeah.
'Cause
It's pretty simple.
I had I don't remember what the weapon was called for Chrono, but he had a weapon that dealt like times 2 damage or something, or times 3 damage on critical hits. And then there was an item I had equipped to him that made it so he did crits more often.
Oh, that's pretty sick.
And
Okay.
he was hitting fucking hard.
That might have been nice for the fucking flame part.
And then the hero's badge for Frog made it so that he crit more often with the Masamune. And then once I had the Masamune upgraded, he was also hitting pretty fucking hard.
That was something I didn't realize you could. I didn't realize there was upgrading the Masamune. So I had the Masamune, and I'm like, this is supposed to be the ultimate sword, but these other swords do more damage.
Yeah.
You're supposed to do his like side quest, and then you find out
Come
like
back around and do it for
they
the
were
end.
holding back some
Oh
power.
yeah, you
for
were
the
missing.
sword.
Yeah, you were missing the rubber hilts over that goes over the
It's
handle.
like, they're like it's more like you believe in yourself now, so you can use all of its power. It's kind of basically
You've
what that
activated
was.
the power of self-belief.
Because
Yeah.
basically, like Frog was like doubting himself the whole time, and then he like sees the spirit of his friend who died.
Yeah.
And then he's like, "No, you're
And then he got
the
a hard-on
greatest
for him.
swordsman ever,"
Gotcha.
and blah blah blah. And then he's like, "Oh yeah, okay." And then
It's like the equivalent of putting a
he believes himself now, so that he can unlock its full power.
it's like putting a fucking card in your bike's wheel spoke.
And then it like
It doesn't actually make you faster, but you're faster. You
feel faster.
Yeah.
it's just and then it like triples the damage of the sword. So
That's sick. I didn't realize that. So there's a ton that you can do in this game, and a new game plus. Look at that. Look at how much this game has to offer. That's pretty sick. Pretty sick.
And there's the monster arena too, which I did for like
There's also
the extra DS stuff.
Did you guys do any of the alternate dimension portals?
Yep. It's required for the other ending.
Which ones are those?
Well, there's like some random portals that show up that you can go into, and they're just basically like
purple.
alternate timelines of the same thing.
It's just a small little
the
20-minute.
The only one that I
dungeon.
went into was like I think it was in like I can't remember what time it was, but it was like the dinosaur people were like the people. There weren't like any humans.
Oh, I think I did do one of those.
And I helped them out, and they were like, "Oh, talking monkeys saved us," and I was like, "Oh, okay."
That's funny.
Yeah,
That's
I
funny.
think I did do that one actually. Yeah, I remember like a dino.
But I couldn't figure it.
civilization.
Like they wanted me. I got like some of the items, and it was like you were supposed to put like golden sand on like this bush or something to grow it, and I was like trying to do that, and it like didn't work. And then I don't know what I was missing in that. So,
And then
but yeah,
you-
it was the only one that I did. But
Then you summoned Meteor and just took them all out.
yeah, just
DS and Steam has extra content like the Lost Sanctum, which is the Monster Arena thing. That's like a DS and Steam version new stuff too. Same with the Dimensional Portal Rifts, which you kind of like face off against like the main characters, like evil version of themselves. And so I did all that extra content too, because there's even another new ending that they added in, which ties into Cross. But I won't get into too much details of that with Scala and all that kind of thing. But so yeah, there's even more content in the newer versions of the games.
which one is Shala? Is that the
Blue. Blue hair.
Oh,
She's
yeah,
the
yeah,
one
yeah.
that-
I remember her.
Oh,
Oh, they
she's
used to
she's the
summon-
princess.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
For some reason, I was thinking it was like the dinosaur mage dude.
No, but that guy's pretty
That'd be
awesome.
sweet. His
Just
own
gets on
game.
top of a gigantic fucking dinosaur, the Robo Dino, and just summons him. That's pretty hilarious sequence.
Did anybody else think that it was stupid that Lavos' entire plan was like gathering the cells of like every living being, but like 90% of the stuff that he had stolen was from robots?
Yeah, he seems a little like confused.
Because like that was like his whole thing is like I'm collecting the data of like all these like living beings, and then like all of his fights were from robots.
I think his end game was going to be to become the planet, the Titan AE planet that they have in that movie, where it's like
The
got like
construction of all of them.
yeah, where you can like restart civilization because you got like little vials of I don't know how it works, but you got like DNA of each beast. You could just settle a planet and then that's him. But instead, it would just be robots. So maybe an alternate ending is Horizon
Day the
Zero
robots
Dawn.
took over.
So the planet that Sephiroth is trying to go to is just Lavos,
Yeah, and one of the endings
the
is
promised land to revive like every being.
Yeah. It did have some of that similarity too with like Genova and like him. I think.
It's just Cell, dude. It's
It
just Cell
being-
from Dragon Ball Z.
Man, I didn't watch enough of that. I don't think.
The whole
much
thing
any,
is
so-
just draining people's life force through his like dick tail, and then
through his balls.
yeah, and even like the design is just Cell from Dragon Ball Z,
like turtle mode.
except for he has fucking floating testicles.
That's the most important detail because you
Yeah, I
do
don't
have to
remember
hit
seeing-
one testicle for 30,000 damage.
Yeah, because apparently that testicle is Lavos.
Yeah.
All the little fucking larva things.
I mean, Craig, who would you be if we cut off your ball?
I don't know.
Then you're like, they already did, Joe. You didn't know this. I had testicular cancer, which I apologize for anyone out there.
Yeah, I thought I did, but I just have really big veins. So sometimes my nut hurts because of vein.
We all love hearing about Caleb's
Yeah.
nut.
Just
I got a nut that's attached to my HP bar too. You hit that fucker and I'll lose a lot of blood.
I think one of the most interesting aspects about this game are the aesthetics. Love to talk about the look and the sound of this game. All right, so first, Akira Toriyama artwork. Wow, does this scream Akira Toriyama throughout this whole game.
That's because it's his artwork. He has one style.
It's
He is
dinosaur people.
Yeah.
Sprites is pretty much what's used throughout the whole thing. There isn't any, besides the cutscenes that are in later versions, they're not juxtaposed to something else to where it's like a completely different, like, how can I describe it? Like
you get the cutscene and it's totally different than the fucking, like how Tidus and 10 doesn't look the same in the cutscenes.
exactly. Yes, that's exactly
He
what
looks
I'm
way
trying to
more
say.
Asian in the fucking FMVs than he does in the actual
It's like
game.
dark hair and stuff
Got
like
a
that.
bit of a tan, like
So across the whole thing, there isn't
They can't
any.
decide how the dream is supposed to be. Is
Yeah,
he white
yeah.
or is he Asian?
yeah. How hard are you dreaming? When they're dreaming FMVs, he's dreaming real hard. So he's like more Asian, but then he just gets whiter when he's like kind of in the waking up phase.
But yeah, you said it correctly, Caleb. Just like there isn't any juxtaposed thing between like cutscenes and
And I
things
guess
like that.
they kind of did that with the gameplay too. It was kind of all like just one thing. It's almost like the
Cohesive.
OG God of War, where it's like it's all one shot. You know, it's kind of like the
God of War 2018.
Yeah, it's like the video game, the gameplay version of that, and it does that with the cutscenes and.
Except when you're warped to a new space or go to a store or
Yeah.
everything else in the game. But
it is kinda like
it does
the
have the
most
seamless
seamless.
battles.
Yeah.
That's for an RPG. That wasn't that usual at the time because of how difficult it was, I guess, to program at, so that it didn't like overload the system. There's action games obviously where you're all overhead and you're not having to load anything. But for an RPG, it's unusual, especially at the time. I thought the game looked very much Akira Toriyama like, very much Dragon Ball. The new cutscenes in there just look like they're straight out of Dragon Ball.
Yeah.
And then the music I thought was probably one of the best aspects of this entire game. Every time that battle theme came up, which that one might have been Nobuo Uematsu. I remember one of the big battle themes is his. That thing was just, I loved getting into a battle so that I would hear that music again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The do 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 do.
slapping the bass.
Yeah, dude, it's sick. It's sick. And this came after, of course, we reviewed Xenogears a few months ago. And it's the same composer largely. And that music from that game was also like a huge surprise. So when we were playing Xenogears, I'm like, this music is amazing.
Yeah.
And then, we get a whole nother Mitsuda score in here with some Uematsu cameos. And it's a wonderful score. Mitsuda says that he thinks that it's rough around the edges and that there's amateur moments in there, which is interesting to hear because everybody loves this music from this game. But I thought that the music in this game was like a huge standout. It's a huge reason why I think we had like people who've played this before have so much nostalgia for it. I think as soon as you hear one of those pieces of music come on, you're like brought back into where you were. Like such wonderfully catchy melodies and like fun, unusual arrangements, and it's definitely not one of those games where it's like in ear, one ear out the other. It's not a game with an annoying soundtrack. I loved all the music in this game.
So I think the only reason why he's probably saying it's like amateur to him is because what he does later on for Xenogears and Chrono Cross. Because in my opinion, Chrono Cross is the best video game soundtrack I've ever heard.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Look forward to that if we ever play it. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
We're playing
exactly. Making me go cross-eyed here. So I can see probably how he feels that way on that one.
Well,
But
it's also his first one, so I'm sure like whatever,
major one where he was in charge of the whole thing.
whatever version of himself that he like. Your first big thing is always going to be like,
Yeah. So
I wish I could redo that.
Yeah.
And so, he kind of like goes through an evolution. This is still like early stages of him. A lot of the music that comes by later has a lot more grand scope of like themes and emotions. But this is still just brass tacks JRPG music which is flawless because you have the intro song, which is basically a call to arms. Just be like, okay, there's that. The music doesn't wear thin on any of the battle themes. Every single one of them slaps hard, especially the other battle theme and the final one with Lavos. That one goes fucking hard. All of them do. You got whimsical, lighthearted themes, which everyone likes for either on-field, like world map or stuff like that. Yep.
Yeah.
And town themes.
Yeah. Yeah, I can agree with that. I just think they're excellent versions of those things. Like, they're really good. They're really catchy. Naboo stuff is also not slouching. I went through a couple days ago and just looked up which ones he did because I'm like, I wonder if I can see who did which. And then I was like, oh, yeah, these are... I couldn't... Honestly, they all meshed well and they all fit together. So it's not like, oh, this definitely feels like Naboo and this one's the other guy who's not as good, which happens in some of the other games that we've played where we suddenly have a Naboo Uematsu track and it's way better than some of the other tracks in the game. Like, I would say FF11 is kind of that way. It's like, this feels like Naboo. These are the other guys who are. Well, it's
because there's dedicated tracks in 11 to just the male species and then the female species. I listened to the 11 soundtrack, and a lot of it just okay. There's like 4 or 5 main themes which are phenomenal. That's good. Everything else, throw it out in the trash.
I think something that more people play it. FF10 there's Naboo tracks, and then there's other people's tracks.
And those other people's tracks stand par in 10s.
You think so?
I think so.
Okay. When I listen to 10 soundtrack, I'm like skipping to the Tizanark and
right. Those are great themes, but the other ones still hold water to me. Okay. I don't find many duds in 10 soundtrack.
Okay.
But
all right.
I mean, I have something here which I think is pretty funny. Tell me if you guys can recognize what this is. I'm going to actually play it as long as I can through the mic.
Okay. We'll get it up to the mic.
It's Robo's theme, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I heard it too. I didn't get it right off the bat. I'm like, what fucking... I was streaming the game on Twitch, twitch.tv/Ultimate Final Fantasy.
Yeah, go there to not see us play.
No, well...
It might soon. Maybe.
Actually, no, I don't think they will see me play because it's on the PS5, unless I hook that up. It's a maybe. Keep your notifications on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember playing the game and I'm like, what fucking... song is this? What song is this? I've heard this before. I've heard this chord progression. And that's something that drives my wife nuts. We'll listen to some like Latin song or some like newer kind of pop song that comes on and I'm like, I'll hear like a 3-note thing and I'll be like, what fucking, there's another song with that exact thing. And then I'll think about it for like a week and a half. I'll be like, it's this. And then I'll grab the song and be like, you play that song. And then you're going to listen to this one right after. You're going to hear where like this little melody that's in there. I have a brain for that for some reason where I'm just like, and I have a brain for forgetting titles of things. So titles and words. So it's the worst combination ever. I'll hear a melody and I can't remember where the fuck it came from. Yeah. But that was a moment, and luckily someone in the comments was it's never going to give you up. But I was like, that one was killing me.
I'm that same way too, because I listen to a lot of hip hop and it's loops and samples, and so it gets my brain firing to be like, oh, I got to find where they pulled this from, or is it pitched down, or is it sped up, stuff like that. Yeah. And apparently everybody pointed it out to Mitsuda, and he's like, I didn't steal it or nothing. It's just the exact same chord progression. I did not listen to the song before. I swear to you.
Yeah, it's like trying to play Doom 1 and 2.
Oh, that one's blatantly
You're like, man,
stolen.
this song's fucking sick. Like, oh, yeah, it's another song that's sick.
It's directly just stolen from Kill 'Em All, yeah.
It's like,
off
South of
Metallica,
Heaven, man. It's like, this sounds fucking awesome, and this Doom, I'm like, oh.
Dude, I'm going to take a tangent no one wanted, but this has to do with how many times I brought this up. The Pirates of the Caribbean score sounding exactly like Gladiator. I found out there was a very extremely recent interview with Hans Zimmer like 2 weeks ago that came out.
Oh, yeah?
And he explained what the fuck happened. I was like, this makes no sense. How can this other composer come in, Klaus, whatever his name is, who got the Oscar, the Academy Award for Best soundtrack for Pirates of the Caribbean with da 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 da. I rewatched Gladiator a few years ago, and it's in the battle scene at the beginning of the movie.
It's like
and
the
I
same
hear
fucking song.
da 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 da. It's like the same thing with a few less notes.
Yeah, it's just a little slower too. Yeah,
And it's the Gladiator's Hans Zimmer. Pirates of the Caribbean is Klaus, whatever his name is. And then the sequels to Pirates of the Caribbean are Hans Zimmer. And I'm like, what happened? I found out what happened. They were not happy with Klaus's score. They brought in Hans Zimmer under the table. Hans Zimmer did a bunch of melodies, and then Klaus had to arrange them. And he did it in like one night. He said he made a whole bunch of themes for Pirates of the Caribbean, and then the Klaus guy basically put it together. So the melodies are largely Hans Zimmer, which makes sense why it's
So Hans Zimmer stole
he
from
ripped off himself for that song, which is
fair.
fine.
Yeah.
It's not another composer winning an Oscar for a soundtrack that was nominated for an Oscar a few years ago. But it's interesting that like the other guy got the award and he got all the credit. It's not like he didn't do anything. He did a ton of work on it, but he didn't do the hummable melodies that everybody remembers for that score, which I thought was so interesting. I always thought that there's something weird fucking going on, right? Like that's such a weird timeline of events. And I remember for years Googling, what the fuck happened here? What is going on? It's just Hans Zimmer, I guess, sometimes is brought in to save scores, and that's what he did.
See, I figured he just like heard it and was like, I'm gonna do the next one. And I'm gonna own this guy.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. I'm like,
this is mine.
I think
now.
that's what everybody kind of assumed that knows about that whole thing. 'Cause,
Yeah.
like I've heard people be like, "This is just Pirates of the Caribbean." It's like, no, you have that wrong.
it's Gladiator.
It's wild how close it is, though. It's like when I heard the Gladiator one, I thought it was the Pirates one.
Yeah.
I thought that it was like they wanted, and this was true. They wanted Hans Zimmer. Hans Zimmer recommended this other composer, and now the way Hans Zimmer works is like Hans Zimmer owns a company of composers that work under him as assistants. He does like the main melodies. He'll sometimes do more work in the main scores, but he does farm out a lot of his arranging and all these other things to his assistant composers.
And that's how he's on like 6 soundtracks every fucking year.
Yeah, that's how
he
he's
shouldn't
pumping
be
them
getting
out.
full name credit for that, but whatever.
So he's doing like the melody, and and then all these other guys are like working on everything supporting that. So it's like, who actually made this score? And it's a collaboration. But that was anyway. Sorry about that tangent. After years, the mystery has been solved. I have bitched
cool.
about that on all of my shows. I've been like, what is happening to the Pirates of the Caribbean soundtrack? And now I know. It's on the Rick Beato interview with Hans Zimmer that came out like 2 weeks ago. Like, oh my God, mystery solved.
It was just Hans Zimmer the whole time.
Yeah.
Never gonna give you up. Never gonna let you down. Never gonna turn around and desert you.
That's his new one.
like a higher pitched. You guys got your. Yeah.
Zimception.
Anyway, anything else to say about the score? Anybody not like the score or turn it off like you did?
I had no choice.
Betrayer of the art.
Turn his TV
I
off,
would
turn his
love to
TV
have
off.
had the sound on, but it just was too much.
Dude, that sounds like the FF11 fucking play online music. It's like super loud. And you're trying to like, and it's like you almost want to cry like before you even get into the game because you're trying to figure it out, and the music is just screaming like it's so loud, and you're just like, oh.
Isn't it the prelude?
I've just noticed that with a
it's-
lot of...
Okay,
It's the
when I
play
tried
online
installing
thing
11,
before you
okay.
get into
You
the
don't. You
true
can't even
Okay.
get into the game. It's
Right, yeah.
That's how hard 11 is. You can't even like. It's not even easy to log in.
I don't know why I didn't play it.
It's like fucking wild.
I've just noticed that with a few ports that they just don't have a sound option, which is absurd that they don't do that. But like, especially with this DS one, I guess it's because the DS naturally has a fucking slider, and they're just like, computers do too, I guess. And then they just fucking made it loud as shit.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I can't explain what their thought process was on that. But if you're making a port, fucking please, add a sound option.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You
I
have to
don't
a
have
Steam
an issue
community
with
or someone else to go in and fix the game for you. But thankfully, that option does exist when you do a Steam or a PC port on stuff. But yeah, you should be doing that work as a developer in order to get that kind of fixed.
Well,
it's kind of that is sad, but
It's because like I was frequently on Discord, and it was like the volume of everybody who was on Discord was like what you guys are right now, but then the volume of Chrono Trigger was
more important?
2 steps above that on like one on the computer, and it's like, hey, there's no solving this.
You know what that reminds me of? Dude, Conan. Like fucking that was the same shit. Like we'd all be in chat, and for some reason Conan Exiles was like the loudest menu ever. And I'm like, hang on, I can't hear anybody. I gotta fucking get out of the menu.
Yeah, also, menu music should never be loud, okay? It should always be subtle and just there. Do not make it fucking because they all do that.
Speaking of Hans Zimmer.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's time we listen to what our audience has to say. Let's get into it.
All right, first up, Chrono Trigger review from Brulo, titled Chrono Trigger Review. What can possibly be said about Chrono Trigger that hasn't already been said? The game is, simply put, the pinnacle of the pre-3D era RPG. I first played CT, Chrono Trigger, as a kid on the SNES, and was immediately hooked by the visual aesthetic, lighthearted character animations, and music. After several hours with the game, it became truly transcendent in my mind. When Chrono goes on trial and everything you've done up to that point is thrown in front of the court as evidence of your malfeasance with Princess Marl, or Merle.
Merle, do the South.
Merlo, Masamune, Magus, Magoose.
The game takes off.
Bama Hut.
The game takes off in a whirlwind of time-hopping madness where every decision you make can affect other timelines as well as the conclusion of the game. Every timeline in the game is fleshed out in such an interconnected way that it almost baffles the mind that most time travel media is hot garbage. The characters are charming, the stories go from lighthearted to world-ending seriousness with ease, and the graphics are absolutely top-notch. While the game itself is perfection, to me, the thing that ties it all together is the stellar score. Chrono Trigger boasts some of the most iconic and instantly recognizable themes of any game I've ever played. From a premonition on the opening title screen to Winds of Yearning in 600 AD, all the way to the final battle, Chrono Trigger has the best score in any video game I've ever played. Some games have memorable tracks. Chrono Trigger has almost no forgettable tracks. To me, Chrono Trigger will always be somewhere in my top 5 games of all time. I've owned it on every system it's been released on and have played it countless times at this point, as well as the sequels and even some fan-made sequels. Crimson Echoes for the win, even though it's glitchy garbage sometimes. This game is my number 1 Final Fantasy ever, and I wish that Square Enix would make a true sequel to it instead of the trash that is Cross. Cheers on you guys finally playing the best FF ever, and I hope you enjoyed it as much as I do.
It's not FF.
It's also not the best.
All right, Frost _ says, fabulous game. Its biggest strength is its characters and how it manages to be one of the only games that gets time travel right. At least as right as you can do it. Along the way, we learn a lot about the characters, which goes a long way in driving engagement, even when the actual plot suffers. The side quests only serve to amplify this. Probably the best side quests I've experienced. The music and visuals are, well, it's a Square game, so they're great. The gameplay and equipment systems, while repetitive in the end when it's best to spam a single combo, has tons of options to explore in the mid-late game. FF6 is still the king of the SNES RPGs, and I enjoy Secret of Mana more, but this ranks third for me in a very competitive field of SNES RPGs. The Yasunori Mitsuda Uematsu combo for the OST is great, but I think Chrono Cross is Mitsuda's masterpiece. Boom. And then Skull Hottie says, it triggers me chronologically. Do you have the next one?
This one's not a review. It's just a thank you from a dude.
Oh, okay. You can read it. You're welcome for the dude.
Yeah. This is from a guy named Dan. He says, not sure if you guys still check this, but I'm a relative newcomer to the FF series and have developed into quite the fan. As a result, I stumbled onto the Ultima Final Fantasy podcast and I'm really enjoying my time listening to it. I was sad to find out that you're basically done cranking out new content, but I still felt it necessary to throw you guys some gratitude. I appreciate your guys' humor and candor so much, as well as your time and energy you put into the show. Looking forward to my many listens ahead. Wishing you the best wherever and whatever you're doing.
Well, thank you, Dan. Thank you for that review of Chrono Trigger. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, we do check it. And
occasionally, yes.
Occasionally we release
We just
episodes.
checked it. Look at that.
There was gaps where you weren't.
Shinru says, for the time, just like FF7 or 6, it is the definition of a 10 out of 10 masterpiece game. Heck, list every game made in the 80s, 90s, and 2000s, and Chrono would still easily make the top 10, if not top 5, on any list. Fantastic music, incredible pixel sprite art. The graphics are so incredible, very unique and fun cast of characters. The story is actually way better than most FF games. The freedom to kind of shape the story in the way you want is super refreshing, and the fact that the game is not super linear and incredibly long is a breath of fresh air in an era when RPGs all started to be 50 hours. Just playing around, taking your time it's easy to beat in 15 to 20 hours. I'm trying to remember where I was. I think I was under 20. I'm a purist that prefers the original SNES release with the original translation that makes Frog and Magus more interesting. Of course, this old version is missing the newer anime cutscenes that the PS1 and DS versions have, and the extra story dungeons and endings. But I think it's a good game. But I think for a game as good as Chrono, the OG team knew that less was more, and they really gave us a diamond. What an incredible team. They don't really combine the best people to make JRPGs like this anymore, but I sure wish they did. Rest in peace, Akira Toriyama.
Yeah, Alex Ross 92 adds, it's probably not as good as a classic like Armored Core for Answer. Probably not. He also says, my serious answer is that I haven't gotten around to playing it, but always heard that it's a classic. Loves Dragon Ball Z, so Akira Toriyama's involvement is definitely a plus. He has both games for the PS1, so I'll get to them eventually. Hopefully the games don't end up being a disappointment or wrapped in childhood nostalgia like Bounty Hunter.
Wait, so he sent in a review for a game he hasn't played?
Yeah, he's saying, I'm hoping to play it someday.
He's excited to do it.
Yeah, that's fine.
And it's PS1 though. Oh shit, that's gonna taint it. Like, ugh.
Like a good old taint.
Yeah, just play it on Steam.
Licking
with the
around the
sound off.
taint.
The taint, like Wheel of Time, the taint.
He was a big fan of that Grundle cam.
Yeah. Chronotal says, it's one of RPG's history's greatest games of all time. I find it fun and weird. It really relaxes me and makes me want to play it over and over when I get the chance. I have it on my phone and play when I have lunch breaks. Oh yeah, there is a phone version that apparently
When
most
you
people
have
would
lunch
like.
breaks, does he not get them?
When he has them.
Damn.
The music is amazing. The fighting was incredible for its time. I feel I'm the oddball because I have way more enjoyment in Chrono Cross than Chrono Trigger. If you're looking for a direct reason to play this game, for me, my first decision was in playing the game was the clear escape from reality. The game was never bought for me as a kid. It came in the dual pack with FF4 by surprise. I wanted to play FF4. When I loaded Chrono Trigger on the PlayStation, I kept getting pulled in. Its music became the biggest draw. It scratches that internal itch to register over and over like good music should. Its soundtrack is on my sleep playlist at night. I would wake up, dude.
Yeah, it slaps too hard.
Yeah, do. While in the battles, I loved mixing all the skills together that make those combinations. I try and manifest mixing magic together, probably from this game. frozen flames, laser beam cyclones, bubble healing, exploding electric light. I was enjoying it so much. The concept of the time travel done in a way where it affected real events in a sensible way was a great story element. I've heard some games where they use time shenanigans to pull off a nonsense win, and it bothers me. This game allows you to use time and get a different ending where you are in the time. It's fantastic. I wonder what the biggest flaw in the game is for people to not play it. I wonder what the biggest flaw in the game is for people to not play it, other than 1 million people demanding you play it. LOL.
The biggest flaw, I can tell you, is time travel. Remember, kids.
There it is.
I think it's just an old RPG with less.
The only way to do a time plot is not to do it.
So Chrono apparently didn't get the hint that we were playing this game. He says, "I still vote for Jozilla to play it," as if I didn't just go, "We're playing this game. Please give us your reviews of the thing." But
Maybe he's in a different timeline.
yeah, maybe
He sounds like his review doesn't sound like a Chrono review, so maybe
no.
it
He's
is a
basically
different-
saying like, "Oh, Joe, you should play it because."
yeah.
That's what that is. So that's funny to me. Thanks, Chrono. We'll keep it as your review.
Epic mediocrity. Chrono Trigger is a fantastic game and rightfully regarded as one of the best RPGs ever made. It has an interesting cast of characters, with Frog and Robo being my favorites.
Yeah, the best.
I have always loved the art from this game. The story is pretty good. It doesn't blow your mind or anything, but like Frost said, it's one of the few games to do time travel as right as they could. Yatsunori Mitsuda knocked it out of the park with the music on this thing. It's one of the soundtracks I go back to on a pretty regular basis to listen to. Frog's theme is just the coolest. I think this game has a well-deserved spot as a top-tier RPG, and it's not just due to nostalgia and rose-tinted glasses. It's a 10 out of 10 for me, and it's very high on my list of favorite games, ranking somewhere in the top 5 for me.
Well, that's it for the reviews. Let's wrap it up, guys.
Let's do it.
Okay, so wrapping it up on Chrono Trigger. I can start first. I think it's a fantastic game. I think it's a classic for a reason. I think it's held up extremely well. After all these years of people begging us to play it or telling us to skip games in order to get to it, and the jokes about eventually playing Chrono Trigger, and then us, of course, saying we're not going to play Chrono Trigger, then enjoy this episode. I loved it. I thought it was really fun. The soundtrack is honestly like half of that, but I really like the game. Fun time. Made me want to go and explore more. I thought we kind of had a crunch time on this. I thought we were trying to hit a certain date where we could all get together and review it, and then some of us slowed down, and then eventually, because of things in life happening, we had to push it. Unfortunately, Dylan couldn't be here today.
Yeah.
Dylan's dealing with some health stuff and moving, and it just today turned out not to be a great day for him, but it was the only day that we could all get together. So Dylan did play the game, and I think he does like the game.
He does. It's one of his favorites, I believe.
Okay.
So,
and I look forward to playing Chrono Cross. I'm not really looking forward to Radical Dreamers because I just don't want to watch 2 hours of a text box. But but whatever, I thought that this game was what's worth the wait and was really good and did not disappoint, which is always a good thing when you have something that is so like beloved and has so much energy behind, like, oh, you have to play this, the best game ever. I mean, personally, I wouldn't rank it that high on my best games ever list, but it's because it's not a nostalgia piece for me, and I'm not a professional gamer or anything like that. But I did have a really good time.
Yeah. I mean, could it have possibly lived up to the hype? Maybe. I do think it's a really good game, but I don't think it's the best game ever made. Like, everyone's been like, for 10 years, man. That's all I've heard is like Chrono is the best. It's pretty good. I don't think it's the best, but it is pretty good. There's really nothing wrong with the game. There's something wrong with the DS I played it on, but there's nothing wrong with the game. One thing I forgot to mention is for some reason, I thought like you were blocked from using items in the beginning of the game, but it's because for some reason the item screen, my A button was especially not functioning for. So like I was just dying at the first boss, like can't heal, like nothing. It won't let me heal in this game. I'm just fucked. And then I think I also had the box. I was like too far away in the menu, the mega menu. But yeah, I think it's a great game. Good soundtrack, solid gameplay, good time plot as far as time plots go. It's nothing too offensive. Yeah, overall it was pretty cool. I mean, I got one alternate ending, which is you fight Lavos early and then you die. And lose. But the crappy part about that is I think it was like 3 days before I fought him and won. So it wasn't even that long. But because I did all the side quests in that time, I was strong enough to kill him the second time. But I think it's cool that they have a bunch of different endings. But it's not like you got to play it 16 times to get all the endings. You can kind of get them as you go along. And it's just like funny little alternate endings where like this guy's the hero in this one, you know, because you helped him do so-and-so things, and now he becomes the main guy who saves the day. I thought it was really cool how well they developed the side characters. There's not a huge cast, but I feel like all of them were well developed in the side quests, which had more story in them than the main story, which is kind of an interesting way to do it. But yeah, I mean, it feels good to finally play this and finally play Xenogears. So now, like, I feel like we got the two major
two
RPGs,
big weight ones.
yeah, that we had never played, done. And thank God this one doesn't have the slowdown problem that the fucking the platforming and the hellscape that was Xenogears at times. And it also, you know, didn't have disc 2, where we're on a stage with the spotlight on the main character and he's telling you what happened.
6-hour cutscene deposition drop. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it was good, man. I can see why people love this thing so much. It did a lot of really cool things, especially for the time it came out. And yeah, there's a reason why every version of this fucking game ends up being worth like way more money than it should be. That's because it's a pretty bitchin' game. But
and Nintendo's stranglehold on things, but
and Nintendo has everyone by the balls when it comes to releasing.
By the right ball.
Yeah,
right testicle.
Right testicle damage only.
Although for Lavos, it's his left, so.
Yeah, anyway. Right for us, left for him.
That is true, yep.
Yeah. Is that your final word?
Yeah, good game. You should play it. The DS port was really great. It's also not cheap anymore, so I'm glad someone loaned it to me.
Jake?
It's whimsical. It's magical. I think it holds up extremely well. I don't have any problems with it. Piggyback off what Caleb said real quick. One of the endings is a developer room. And so every single person who worked on the game, maybe not every single person, but they all have rooms that you can go into, and they left a little like creator's note in there of like fun. Text box. So like some of the, like we didn't really touch about Spico or the other creatures that are in the world, the news, the little blue blob guys with the eyes and stuff, but they have, you know, those types of characters have little notes next to them of what they said. Oh, it was fun working on this game, or I hated working on this game, or I'm tired, I'm going to bed now. This game's done. Stuff like that. So there's a developer room ending, which I think is pretty cool. But I have this as one of my tops for a certain era. See, we're now getting into video games that are a lot more complicated now than what they used to be.
Yeah.
Back in the day of where you would just plug it into a console and, it's just something that the kids play with. Now we're getting, all of us growing up now, 20, 30 years later since this game came out, we have so many more systems and huge amounts of story and bigger game development and budgets. It's you kind of like got to have a cutoff and be like, what would be consider the old way we used to do video games and new way how we do video games. So comparing it to everything else that's nowadays, you could say, okay, there's a lot more better games now because of how much more intricate they are
in certain ways.
in certain ways. Yeah. But there's just like nothing like just like plugging in this into the, like if you came from the old school way of doing games, just plugging this in and playing it like a traditional JRPG and not needing to understand intricate systems or an overarching story over 60, 70 hours and stuff like that. I think this is still one of the greatest of all time games from back then, that era. Comparison to other games now, yeah, maybe it wouldn't crack a top 30 or 40 in most people's lists, but it still cracks like a top 20, maybe a top 10 for me. So,
Okay. Cool. Craig?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I like with what Choi said, I do think there is some bit of overhype in the game because, you know, for years I always heard, oh, you should play Chrono Trigger. It's like the greatest game ever. And I've heard like different things about it that did not seem to be the way. Like, for instance, one of the things that I heard about it was like, if you make a certain choice in this part of the game, that it's going to affect like the future and blah blah blah, and like that doesn't necessarily happen.
it's the
in
illusion
the way
of
that it
choice.
was described.
Yeah.
So it's like there was, you know, some like, oh, that's like not the case, and so it's like, you know, things like didn't hold up in that respect. But it's like that's just, you know, probably some people's nostalgia talking. It's like, oh, you can do so many things and like this, but I mean, overall, it's a great game. There's a lot of things that it did first, you know, like the New Game Plus, and I think it's an important game for like RPGs in the past, and it's like really reminiscent of Final Fantasy VI, and I think 6 kind of took some stuff from that, just like with the, you know, having side quests to do with each of the characters, so you get kind of like more of a story for each of them, and then there being like an overarching story, but like the real story is like what's going on with the characters, kind of a thing, because it's a simplistic kind of like thing that holds it, the core, which is kind of why I felt like Magus should have been more involved in the game than he was,
Because his character story was interesting enough to
well, it's because like his whole thing, like the story kind of becomes like, hey, this is like you know, you go back into the past, or the antiquity or whatever, and that's like the core of like what the game becomes, because then you find out more about Lavos there. You find out like, oh, Magus was like part of this whole thing the entire time. He was flung out of time trying to to try to bring Lavos together, and like you think that he's just being evil, but really he's trying to like save the world because he knows what Lavos is, and he knows what it did to his mom and to his sister and all this shit. And it's like, okay, so really the game is about him. But like the main story that you know of is Chrono and the princess being like, let's go save the future because something happens. But
So you're not with Hori on this.
no, I'm not. I do think that having Magus as a main character earlier would have been more interesting. Okay. But I do think that it is a really good game, and it holds up.
Cool. We're not Dragon Quest people here at UFF. So what is like the SNES Dragon Quest for the community?
5.
5?
Yeah, it would be 5.
All right. So what we're going to do, Caleb and I are going to rank it against FF6. You guys are going to rank it against FF6. You've played all these. So FF6, Dragon Quest V, and Chrono Trigger. As like, what's the ultimate JRPG on the system? I will say very quickly, I think they're both excellent games for 6 versus Chrono Trigger. FF6, I think, tells a little bit more of an emotional, powerful story and has some higher highs. I think 6 is basically a flawless game. And Chrono Trigger, although I loved it, it doesn't hit on the same level for me. So I'm probably never going to rank it higher than FF6. But I think 6 is the masterpiece on the SNES. So I'm going to go 6 and then Chrono Trigger.
Yeah, I mean, same. I don't think it's as good as FF6. I mean, it's 6 has just got.
I think I would rank it above 5 and 4 though.
Well, y'all better. Come on. Come on.
I think 5 and 4 have a lot of flaws.
Yeah, I mean,
FF5 and FF4.
4's story is probably better, but that has flaws though too.
It has the fake deaths.
Yeah, bullshit.
That's a very Toriyama thing.
But yeah, no, I would probably put 6 above Chrono. I think it's more epic and like bigger, and that's kind of what I like. But Chrono is still a really great game, so it's not. I mean, it's better than the other SNES games we played for the show. Like, it's definitely better than Secret of Evermore, for sure, and it's better than Mystic Quest for sure. Very bassy though, both very bassy.
And
battle
Secret of
games.
Mana, if you guys are counting.
Oh,
that.
it's way better than Secret of Mana.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No doubt.
Yeah.
Like
Trials of
Secret of
Mana.
Mana is good, but
Trials of Mana might rank above FF4, but it depends on the day.
yeah,
Yeah.
the stories. I mean, they're kind of similar in that way, where the stories don't really matter as much.
Yeah, 4's is more memorable though.
Yeah, whereas Chrono and the Trial Mana, it's like I have no idea. Mana.
Yeah,
Nobody
man.
cares.
Anyway, Jake,
This is a fucked up question, okay?
No,
Because
just, your gut.
I got to think this through while I'm
Gut
talking.
response.
Because Dragon Quest V has story beats that are just as good as FF6. I'm
Okay.
dead serious because of what happens with the hero and spoiler territory and stuff. If you like his father dying and then he gets turned into stone for 12 fucking years. And you end up,
12 years a stone.
12 years a stone instead of 12 years a slave. That was great. I
Which
love
one do you
that.
think would be worse?
Slave. He also was a slave for a short time.
No, yeah, but you're a stone, like sitting there in the cuck chair again, and you're just like watching everybody with your wife. I don't know. I might want to
Is
be
that
a
how it
slave.
happened?
Not quite, but you could see
Not
your
quite.
wife and your kids like moving on life and
okay.
stuff there, and you're just sitting there as a statue. It's fucking hilarious and heartbreaking at the same time.
Well, which is worse, that or you also see your wife and children whipped and forced to do manual labor all day?
Craig has a heart out. Let's try to wrap this up. Jake, give it.
Fuck, and then 5's got capture monsters. So, god damn it, it's 6. Then Trigger, then 5. But let's not undermine how good. Since me and
FF6.
Craig actually, yep.
Chrono Trigger and Dragon Quest V.
Yep.
Okay, Craig.
God damn it.
It's gonna be Dragon Quest V, Chrono Trigger 6.
Wow.
Oh,
okay.
your hate of Ultros is crazy. Okay.
Ultros is a piece of shit and drags down what could be a good game.
What could be a good game?
game.
He comes up way too much. If it was one time, that could be forgiven. But he comes up so often and is so off-putting that I can't do it. I do agree that 6 does have some pretty high highs, especially because Celis is a great character and like there's some great stuff in there.
Terra.
But like
Lock.
there's some other stuff that is just
Cyan.
too much.
The brothers.
Like there's way too many
not
there's way too many characters. Like it's kind of cool to go and collect some of them, but like at the same time, like there's just too much. The whole like last dungeon where you have to split between like 3 parties
That's brutal.
That's pretty
is
brutal.
really annoying.
under level
I
on
and-
should have
some.
used the
and
GIMP
it's-
characters.
It's just as annoying, if not close to being as annoying as the whole fucking 30 final boss fights of Chrono Trigger. And I think that Chrono Trigger is probably more consistent across, like, I mean, maybe it doesn't have as high highs, but it doesn't have as quite low lows or as annoying stuff like Ultros.
Huh.
And then Dragon Quest V was just fucking solid. So
It is. Everyone
Okay.
should play it.
All right. Well, you guys heard it here. If you missed your Chrono Trigger review time because you didn't have enough time, you didn't know we were actually going to review it, we are going, Caleb and I at least, Caleb Schweiss and I at least. I don't know about you guys. You guys, of course, are invited to do it, or to continue the series. We're going to do a short review on Radical Dreamers, and any reviews on Chrono Trigger or Radical Dreamers you want to send to us, please do. Or if you feel like you're going to forget to send to us Chrono Cross reviews, go ahead and send those. You can do that at fffanatics123@gmail.com, or you can find the area, the reviews and questions area in the Discord, and ask those and answer those there. Review the games there, or you can ask us questions there too. But anyway, that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this bonus episode or semi-finale episode of Ultimate Final Fantasy / the Puff Puff
Yeah,
hour.
we love finalizing other podcasts on our podcast.
This should have
It's
just
like the-
been like a new podcast, but also a continuation of the other
Ultima
podcast.
Puff Puff
Just call
Fantasy.
it like the Chrono Cast.
The Dream Team. What are you talking about?
the-
At least
just-
get the moniker right. Yeah, it's the Dream Team.
The 3 episodes that'll
Yeah.
consist of
yeah.
going in depth. Yeah, we'll do a whole theme and
The
everything.
first and last episode of the Chrono Trigger podcast.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll see you guys. What do you guys usually end on?
Oh, keep it super and keep it questy, I think was the old tag.
Okay.
Enjoy the grind.
Hey, this is Dylan. I am sorry I was not able to make it to the recording of the episode. I'm just going to briefly go over some of my thoughts on Chrono Trigger. I played the DS version of the game, and I'm sure, like the other guys, my favorite character was also Frog. I used the active option for battle. It made the game a little more difficult, but I like the added pressure of navigating the menu in real time. Really enjoyed the gameplay in Chrono Trigger. It's a very magic heavy and tech heavy game, and it was interesting trying to figure out enemy weaknesses. So spamming Lumiere didn't work every time. I also enjoyed the time travel centric story. I thought the decision to kill off Chrono towards the end of the game was pretty bold. I can't think of many games that killed off the main character. And it's also cool that you can bring him back to. A standout part of the story for me was when Chrono is on trial and they bring up the interactions that you had at the festival as evidence against him. I was definitely found guilty based on my actions. I stole a guy's lunch. I tried to sell Marl's necklace. I didn't help the little girl find her cat. Didn't go well for me. I enjoyed the art direction for the game. It has a very similar feel to Dragon Quest, obviously, with Akira Toriyama. The music was good, but nothing really stands out for me right now. I'm trying to think. Nothing too stand out there. I would say this game has very high replayability due to the multiple endings, and the DS and Steam version even have extra content that adds to the story. Overall, I would highly recommend Chrono Trigger to fans of the Final Fantasy series, and especially to Dragon Quest fans. That's all I have. Dylan out. Puff puff forever.